It is packed here at Busch Stadium, the final year of this ballpark, and they're hoping to go out in style. Craig Biggio steps into the batter's box to lead it off for the Astros, and we are underway with the first pitch fastball just outside for ball one. Biggio 0 for 14 in his career against Mulder. The next pitch for Mulder, a cutter that runs inside, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Mark Mulder's soup, we found out before the game, throws 7 different pitches.
Yeah, and Molina sometimes has to take, no, just kidding. Take the glove off.
The 2-0 is there for a strike, 2-1. You want to give us a rundown on his repertoire?
2-seam, cutter, slider, curveball, changeup, forkball, and maybe a 4-seamer.
Yep. So Yadier Molina's, when you try to guess right with a guy who's got 3 pitches, sometimes that can be a chore. But the guy who throws 6 or 7 pitches like Mulder does, Yadier Molina and Mulder have to really be in step with one another. Here's the 2-1 to Biggio, and a swing and a foul ball off Biggio's foot that drops him to the dirt. And now he's back up trying to walk off the paint as the ball hit his foot and rolled all the way out to second base. Biggio, as tough as they come, is going to walk it off.
Craig's going, bad enough. I'm 0 for 14 against this guy. Now I'm wrapping balls down off my leg, and he's hobbled a bit. He's going to try to walk it off, but trust me, on the plane flight back tonight and tomorrow morning, he's going to get up and go, oh, my goodness, that hurts.
That hit the inside of his left foot, his front foot. Biggio hit for big power this year, had 40 doubles and 26 home runs. A very dangerous batter. Moved up to the leadoff spot the last week of the season after hitting second most of the year. The 2-2 is taken low, and the count is now full on Biggio. Biggio, 39 years of age. He and the rest of the Astros got so close to the World Series last year. The 3-2, a swing and a foul off. And that one ricocheted and hit Yadier Molina, the catcher. So we've got 2 injured players already, both trying to deal with some pain right now, as now Molina is trying to walk off the hurts.
Well, I guess Mulder's saying, if my arm hurts, you guys are going to hurt too. And Biggio's still kind of stomping around in the batter's box. And Molina, how about yesterday for the Molina family? All 3 brothers played in LCS games. 2 of them for the Angels and Yadier for the Cardinals.
The 3-2, and Biggio lines a base hit over the head of Eckstein into left field. A 2-hopper out to Sanders. And Biggio is aboard with a leadoff single for the Astros here in the first.
I think that's called getting off the schneid. 0 for 14, no longer a solid base hit to left for Craig.
That would be another issue to deal with if the Angels and Cardinals meet in the World Series, is who the Molina family roots for. A nice problem to have, though. Here's Willie Taveras, a National League Rookie of the Year candidate. The center fielder hit .291 this year. He has tremendous speed and is an adept bunter, and that's why Abraham Nunez is way in on the grass at third. Mulder sets and deals, and Taveras bunts through it, so the count is 0-1. He had 29 bunt singles this year, and the Cardinals basically know what he's going to do because he has no pop, really. They're just going to try to get Biggio over, and if Taveras beats it out, so much for the better.
Yeah, Taveras doesn't very often square around a bunt. He bunts in that base hit mode all the time, but he puts 66 bunts in play, and as you said, 29 hits.
0-1 the count, and the pitch, a bunt down towards Nunez at third. The only play to first. Nobody's covering. Nobody's covering first as Pujols charged, and Grzelcyk didn't get over. And Taveras is safe at first. Biggio to second.
Boy, you talk about a failure to communicate. The Cardinals, who played brilliant defense last night, a mix-up there. I don't know if Grzelcyk thought Pujols was going to retreat or what, but all of a sudden Nunez picked the ball up. Pujols was about 5 steps in on the grass. Grzelcyk was late covering, and the Astros are going to try to strike here. We told you about that Cardinal first 4 games of the postseason taking a 22-0 lead. 7-4, 6, and 5-0. The Astros are going to try to get on the board early here.
Here comes Lance Berkman. He'll bat from the right side against the lefty Mulder. Berkman playing first base tonight. Hit .293 with 24 home runs during the regular season and had the big grand slam in Game 4 against Atlanta. The pitch for Mulder, and it is over the outside corner for a called strike.
Berkman had a great pitch to hit off Chris Carpenter last night. Bases loaded, 3rd inning. He got a high cutter in the zone. He smoked it, but he got a little topspin on it, hit a 1-hopper to Grzelcyk, a 4-6-3 double play, and that was the killer for the Astros.
So Biggio at second, Taveras at first, nobody out in the first inning. A look back at the runner at second base by Mulder, and the 0-1. Berkman takes down and away. Got a couple looks at a replay of that bunt play. Pujols was charging. And when the bunt was down, he looked back to see where Grzelcyk was. When he saw he wasn't that close to first, then Pujols tried to get back to first. Grzelcyk only started moving toward first after the ball had been bunted. Here's the 1-1, and an off-speed pitch misses outside. Ball 2. He didn't start racing to first as soon as Taveras shortened up on the bat.
And the scouting report has to say that in that situation, 99% of the time when Biggio's on first in the first inning, Taveras is going to bunt. He's going to lay it down. And I don't know, Grzelcyk, who played brilliantly last night, short-circuited a bit there.
The 2-1, a swing and a miss by Berkman. 2-2. That was the cutter from Mulder running in on his hands. Berkman this year had almost an identical average from each side of the plate, but showed a lot more power from the left side. As folks remember, ironically, he did great in the home run derby a couple of years ago, hitting from the right side, taking advantage of the short porch down in Houston. Morgan Ensberg on deck. The Astros trying to break through early. The 2-2, and a swinging ball popped up in foul territory, first base side. Molina and Pujols are over, but it'll bounce on top of the dugout and up into the seats.
I would call this part neutral as far as amount of foul territory, decent. Fences, decent. There's no cheap home runs here. And basically there's no cheap outs either. I mean, a lot of times, you've got a park like Oakland where you can go forever in foul territory and catch a ball. This one kind of neutral. You got the newer parks where the stands are closer to the field.
And this one of the old symmetrical cookie cutter fields. 330 down the lines, 372 to the alleys, 402 to center. Again, the 2-2 to Berkman, and he chases a fastball up and away, swings through it for the first out of the inning.
Well, Lance has had some opportunities in this series. That's the one guy the Astros want to produce. He is a better hitter from the other side, though, despite the numbers being pretty close this year, average-wise.
Here's Morgan Ensberg, the Astro third baseman, having a career season this year. Hit 36 homers, drove in 101 runs. First and second, one out, no score, top of the first. Here in St. Louis as Mulder comes set. Ensberg, a right-handed batter with an open stance. And the pitch, a breaking ball, popped up and out of play right side, 0-1.
Danny, these teams have such enormous respect for each other. They play the game right. They play the game hard. 17 times they've met this year, including last night. And 16 of the games have been decided by 3 runs or less. So we're not expecting a one-sided one tonight.
Yeah, they each feel, as you mentioned, differently about each other than they do about the Cubs. There's more of a nastiness associated, especially between the Cardinals and Cubs. But the Cardinals and Astros have a ton of respect for one another. The 0-1 and a curveball misses way outside, a ball and a strike.
The only time that got tested was in 2001 when the Astros beat the Cardinals the last day of the season. Technically, they tied. But because of the tiebreaker rule, the Astros having the better record, they were considered division champions, and the Cardinals a wild card. Cardinals put up co-champions like the Red Sox are trying to do this year. The Astros got ticked.
The 1-1 way down and in, ball 2. As Mulder misses his location badly there. 2 balls and a strike. Biggio at second. He started off the game with a base hit to left. Willie Taveras, a bunt single after nobody covered first base for the Cardinals. Then Lance Berkman struck out. The Cardinals have not trailed at any moment in any of their 4 playoff games so far this year. Outfielders deep pretty much straight away. Mulder checks the runner at second base, and the 2-1 to Ensberg. A swing and a bouncer foul back to the screen, 2-2.
Cardinal defense uncharacteristically this year allowed the most unearned runs in the National League, and this is a great defensive team. But for whatever reason, they picked the wrong time to boot it, and their pitchers didn't pick them up. But last night, they played superb defense.
And they turned more double plays than any team in the National League. Even though Grzelcyk and Eckstein, both first-year Cardinals, they really got on the same page in a hurry. Mulder looking for a double play ball here. The 2-2 and a swing and a bouncer back to the mound. Mulder beats Grzelcyk on to Pujols, and they get the double play. No runs, 2 hits, and a man left. Another big double play for the Cardinals. The Astros get the first 2 men on, but can't score. In the top of the first now, Roy Oswalt to the mound for Houston. David Eckstein leading it off for St. Louis. Oswalt, a 20-game winner for the 2nd year in a row. Drills in a first-pitch fastball over the outside corner to Eckstein, and it's 0-1. Eckstein hit .294 on the season, had a couple of hits and a couple of runs scored in last night's 5-3 Cardinal win. The 0-1 and the fastball bounced down to third, but foul. And it is 0-2 on the diminutive leadoff hitter for the Cardinals, who has done a terrific job this year. What he lacks in arm strength and power and raw speed, perhaps, he sure makes up in the intangibles department and the effort and heart and so forth. And Cardinal fans think they got a great deal with him. The 0-2 is sliced to right field. Charging Jason Lane, and he makes a great backhanded catch. Tumbled after he made the catch, picked it right off the edge of the grass, and a nice call made by Tim McClellan hustling out there in right field to make sure he got it right.
Yeah, Phil Garner, you asked him about Jason Lane today, and Garner said he's a good outfielder. He's got a good throwing arm. He positions himself pretty well, and that could be a big play for Roy Oswalt. I mean, his offense just went flat after looking like they were going to have a big first inning. And Eckstein once again hits it hard. He's hit it hard 5 times, but draws a blank there.
Here's Jim Edmonds, and he takes a changeup down and away for ball 1. Oswalt is primarily a mid-90s fastball and then a high 60s curveball guy. Those are his 2 main pitches. The 1-0, and there's a curveball in for a strike, 1-1. Brad Ausmus telling me before the game he does have a slider, does have a changeup. He will use them, just not all that often. Oswalt listed at 6 feet. That might be a little bit generous. But boy, does he generate a lot of power. The 1-1, a fastball there at the knees at 95 miles an hour. And he jumps out in front of Edmonds, 1-2.
Boy, and you just hit the key word, jumps. He jumps at the hitter, and especially when that slow curve comes in, then they're really off stride.
Shakes off Ausmus a couple of times. The 1-2, there is the curve, but it misses inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Reggie Sanders told me before the game he doesn't know another pitcher who has as much of a difference between fastball and curveball in terms of velocity as Oswalt does. It's between 25 and 30 miles per hour difference between the two. The 2-2 and a fastball line past the diving Ensberg into left field. A base hit for Edmonds. He has been an Astro killer the last couple of years, and he's aboard with a 1-out single.
Well, the Cardinals picking right up where they left off yesterday. They hit the ball pretty hard against Andy Pettitte. Both balls have been well struck so far, and that play by Lane may prove to be huge.
Now Albert Pujols, another magnificent year for Pujols, hitting .330 with 41 homers and 117 RBIs. And hitting very well in the postseason as well, 6 for 12, and he's walked 5 times. Runner at first, 1 out, no score. And there's a slider from Oswalt, and it misses outside, ball 1. Pujols in his career has very good numbers against Oswalt, hitting .386. The 1-0 and a swing and a chopper foul back to the screen, 1-1.
Well, again, the Cardinals have really been jumping on the opposition in this postseason. So Oswalt looked like the Astros were going to put something up in the first and second, nobody out, but out goes Berkman, a double play ball off the bat of Ensberg, and it's going to be up to Oswalt. He's going to have to match zeros for a while to try to hold down this Cardinals juggernaut.
The Cardinals won 100 games during the season, the best record in baseball. The Astros were the wild card in the National League. After a sluggish April and May, they got hot and wound up winning 89 games. This is a rematch of last year's NLCS, won by the Cards in 7. The 1-1, a swing and a miss by Pujols, and it's 1-2.
Well, you said the magic word, 100 wins. Since 1995 with division play, 18 teams have won 100 games, yet only one of them, the 98 Yankees, has gone on to win the world title. So that hasn't necessarily been a formula for great success.
Oswalt out in front of Pujols, a ball and 2 strikes. The lead by Edmonds, and the slider misses down and away, 2-2. Well, when everybody's healthy, the Cardinals all year long appeared to be the most balanced team in baseball. You can look at Houston, the Angels, and the White Sox, and all of them at times struggle to score runs. St. Louis, when they're clicking on all cylinders, they appear to be the entire package. Doesn't mean they'll win it, but they sure have a lot going for them. Runner doesn't go, and the 2-2 just missed. Full count, a little bit down and in. Full count now on Pujols.
Yeah, the Cardinals a year ago, I thought, put 8 better guys on the field. But this year, with Carpenter healthy and Mulder pitching, I think, the starting pitching is better, but I think the bullpen's not as good, especially down the stretch. So a little bit better, a little bit worse, but, we'll see how they do. I know one thing, they're still stinging for what they considered an embarrassing performance against the Red Sox last year.
No score, bottom of the first. Edmonds at first with 1 out, and a full count on Pujols as he steps out. Larry Walker in the on-deck circle. Of course, there's no Scott Rowland right now for the Cardinals. after the shoulder surgery. The runner goes, and the 3-2 grounded out to short. Everett up with it. The only play to first, and he'll throw out Pujols, but starting the runner kept the Cardinals out of an inning-ending double play.
One of the things about Albert Pujols, in addition to the great slugging numbers, he is a guy that very rarely strikes out. So Tony La Russa can start that runner with pretty good assurance that, you know, the only way you're going to get a double play is a line drive at somebody.
So 2 down, a runner at second for Larry Walker, the right fielder. Against Andy Pettitte last night, Walker hit 5th, Reggie Sanders 4th, but now with the righty and Oswalt starting, Walker back up to cleanup, Sanders down to number 5. Here's the first pitch, and Walker bounces one foul, first base side 0-1. Walker, in what is likely his final season, has had 4 cortisone shots for a herniated disc in his neck, has missed a lot of time, getting taken out every now and again for defense, unable to play some days, and just physically not the player he once was.
Yeah, banged the ball off his knee in the San Diego series as well. Went 0 for 9 in that series.
0-1 the count as Walker waits. Oswalt has his sign, checks the runner, and the pitch, a fastball up and away.
You know, Tony La Russa pushed all the right buttons last night, called the squeeze at the right time, elected to stay with Carpenter for an extra inning. This game, he starts Edmonds on 3-2. If Walker comes through with a hit, he'll be, you can officially say Tony's on a roll. Managers get on rolls for a while, every move makes, but Tony will be the first to tell you there's also sometimes for every move backfires on you.
Willie Taveras, the center fielder, playing Walker to right center, and he's in rather shallow, too. Walker certainly with the ability to hit the ball over Taveras' head as now Walker steps out.
Yeah, don't believe the scouting report. Scouting report says Willie Taveras plays a deep center field.
Not right now. Oswalt has his sign, and the 1-1 to Walker, a breaking ball low, ball 2. Reggie Sanders on deck. Tony La Russa saying before the game, even though Sanders is so hot, teams still feel that Sanders has holes in his swing, and that Walker gives Albert Pujols more protection. Sanders, always a streaky hitter, is as hot as anybody in baseball.
Doesn't appear to me, and this is just, you know, a visual observation, but it doesn't appear to me that Oswalt's stuff is quite as good out of the stretch.
Here's the 2-1, and a changeup misses outside, ball 3.
Doesn't have that same electricity on his fastball that he seems to out of the windup.
Oswalt threw 241 innings this year, walked only 48, struck out 184. Second in the league in innings, third in the league in wins, 7th in the league in ERA, although only 3rd on his own team. Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte finished 1-2. Now he's in a 3-1 hole. The pitch to Walker, and a swing and a foul back at a fastball. The count now full. Game 3 will be back in Houston, and that'll be on Saturday afternoon. And it'll be Matt Morris for the St. Louis Cardinals and Roger Clemens for the Houston Astros. And our broadcast will begin at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Full count. A look back at the runner, and the pitch, a swing and a bouncer foul. Came up and hit Walker in the front leg, but no damage done. Takes off the batting helmet and mops some sweat off his brow. Now gets ready to face another Oswalt offering.
And then, even though the cast of characters have changed on both teams over the last 10 years, one of these two teams has won this Central Division 9 of the 10 years. Only the Cubs in 03 stopped that string. So again, mutual respect.
Yep. Again, the 3-2, and a fastball is high, ball 4. Walker draws the walk, and now the red-hot Reggie Sanders comes up. All Sanders has done is drive in a dozen runs in 4 playoff games so far, and the crowd well aware of that. They're giving him a standing ovation when he comes to the plate.
Well, if there weren't enough noise here last night, they passed out the thunder sticks tonight, so we've got a new dimension here at Busch.
Not a good trend for baseball, I don't think. The Angels have them. And now they're chanting Reggie's name. The new Mr. October, Reggie Sanders. First and second, 2 down. No score, bottom of the first, and Oswalt misses down and away, ball 1.
Well, as the papers referred to him here today, Mr. Red October.
Osmus out to the mound to talk to Oswalt, who missed badly down and away with that first pitch slider. Osmus considered to be one of the best in baseball at managing the pitching staff.
Yeah. Oswalt, when we were peeking in the clubhouse today, going to talk to Phil Garner, looked like Oswalt was watching some video of Reggie Sanders.
Sanders has had great success this year against the Astros. Hit over 400 against them during the regular season with 5 home runs. Then he hit a deep 2-run homer in game 1 last night. The 1-0 is swinging a ground ball down to third. Up with it, Ensberg plays it the short way to Biggio to force Walker and end the inning. No runs a hit, a couple of men left on. We're through an inning, and it is scoreless here in St. Louis. Here's the pitch from the lefty Mulder, and Lane looks at a fastball down the middle for a strike.
Well, it looks to me like some of the Astros are taking the pitches they should be hitting and hitting the pitches they should be taking.
Mulder got a big double play to get out of a jam in the first inning. The 0-1, there's another pitch in for a strike. 0-2, and as we mentioned, so many pitches for Mulder, and you never see the same one twice in a row. He'll sink a fastball away from a right-handed batter, then cut one in on him, then throw a fork ball, then throw a slow curve. There's the 0-2, and that cutter runs inside, a ball and 2 strikes. I don't know. I mean, you tell me with the eye of a former major league player, I don't know that any one pitch in and of itself is dominant, but the mix, there's no pattern. You don't know what's coming.
Yeah, well, trust me, against a guy like this, I'd be leaving the bench swinging because I don't want him to get 2 strikes on me.
The 1-2, and it's a fastball over the outside corner for strike 3 called. And Jason Lane with some words for Greg Gibson as he heads back to the Astro dugout.
Well, to me, Lane's got nobody to blame but himself, because against a guy like this, it doesn't walk a ton of people. You got to be ready to swing the bat, leaving the bench. First pitch fastball was right down the middle. He decided he was going to look. Sometimes you only get one good pitch to hit in at bat, and that was the one. He took it.
Here's left fielder Chris Burke. I don't know how many people in the country have had a better week than Chris Burke has had. The pitch from Mulder is low, ball 1. It was Burke who pinch hit in the 18th inning, or who was batting in the 18th inning against Atlanta in game 4 on Sunday, and hit the home run that won the series for the Astros. The 1-0 on the inside corner with the knees, 1-1. And although they lost last night, came up as a pinch hitter last night, hit a 2-run homer off Chris Carpenter. And all of a sudden, a guy who outside Houston wasn't getting a lot of notoriety, he has become a household name. The 1-1 just low, ball 2. After the Sunday game, by the time he did his interviews, got dressed, showered, got home, his cell phone was full of calls from minor league teammates, high school teammates, coaches. The 2-1 is well hit into deep right center field, and this ball is going to split the outfielders and get to the wall. And Burke, with good speed, is rounding second and heading for third. The Grzelcyk relay, not in time. Nunez can't believe the call at third. Here comes Tony La Russa to argue as well. A great relay from Grzelcyk. That Nunez short hop right in front of the bag, thought he got the tag down, but Burke is called safe, and give him credit for a triple.
Also give credit to a great rotation by the umpires. Home plate umpire Greg Gibson on that play rotates down to third. He was right on top of the call. I don't know if he got it right, but he was in position to make the call. And the first base umpire, Wally Bell, had sprinted to home to cover in case there was a play there.
And Tony La Russa and the home plate umpire, Greg Gibson, now walking down to the plate, still exchanging words. We get a look at a close-up replay. The throw clearly beat Burke to the bag, but I don't know that Nunez ever put the tag on him. It looked like Burke slid just to the side of Nunez's glove and got in safely to third base. So Burke now has 2 homers and a triple in his last 3 at-bats, and the Cardinals bring the infield in. Adam Everett, the batter, and he takes a slow curve in for a strike.
Well, I think this is testimony to the fact that they think Mulder can keep the ball down. They can get a ground ball. Great base running by Burke, though, because, you know, if you're going to try for a triple, you do it with 1 out, so you can score a sacky fly or some other form. But a good gamble by Burke.
No score, top of the second, runner at third, 1 out, and Mulder steps off.
Now I think Mulder and the Cardinals are maybe thinking about the same thing as yesterday, squeeze. Remember, both of these teams like to squeeze.
The Cardinals getting more notoriety for it this year, but the Astros use it almost as much. 0-1 the count. And the pitch to Everett way outside, a ball and a strike. They sacrifice almost as much.
Yep.
Nobody squeezes as much as the Cardinals. They did it they have done it 14 times So far this year, 5 more than anybody else in baseball.
Yeah, and this is a great slugging team, but as you pointed out talking to Tony, I mean, Tony, they had so many injuries to their big sluggers this year. Sometimes they had reserves in, and Tony was more apt to put the squeeze on them.
Guys like Taguchi and Luna and players like that. Mulder from the stretch, taking a lot of time, and now finally time called by Adam Everett.
I want to get back to talking about taking the first pitch in Jason Lane, but let's see what develops here. And I had a great conversation with Al Kaline about this one time many years ago.
Burke down the line at third. Infield in for the Cardinals. The 1-1 to Everett, misses inside.
Basically, I asked Kaline, I said, sometimes you swing at the first pitch, sometimes you don't. What's your philosophy? He said, I go up there in the first pitch, I'm saying in my mind the count is 3-0. And if it's exactly where I'm looking for and the pitch I'm looking for, I let it go. Otherwise, I take it.
In all situations, even with a chance to drive in runs.
Yep.
Here's the 2-1 to Everett. A swing and a ground ball back to the mound. Mulder has it. Looks Burke back to third. Throw to first. Everett retired. 2 down. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the National League Championship Series on ESPN Radio, delivered by the United States Postal Service.
You're listening to the Houston Astros on XM Satellite Radio.
Back in St. Louis, still no score. Runner at third, 2 outs now in the top of the second. Houston batting. Twice tonight, Mark Mulder has needed ground balls. Twice he has gotten them. Wants to start a double play to end the first, and wants to get an out here and hold Burke at third. And now they're going to walk Brad Ausmus, the number 8 hitter, and set up an at bat against Roy Oswalt.
Yeah, Ausmus 353 lifetime against Mulder. Mulder is making tremendous pitches when he has to. Seems though with nobody on base, he doesn't seem to quite have the focus. He's left several up in the zone, but boy, when he's been in trouble, he's made great pitches. Yeah, getting back to the Kaline thing, I mean, his philosophy again, he just says in his mind, nobody on or anybody on, it's a 3-0 pitch and I got the green light, and if I like it, I'm going to hammer. Otherwise, I'm going to take it and I'll just give the pitcher, if it's a good pitch on the corner, I'll give it to him.
Because there are those, and I know Tony La Russa is one of these from reading his book a couple of years ago, that in an RBI situation like Lance Berkman of the Astros had last night, that things change a little bit. You're the RBI guy. The bases are loaded. You've got to be a little bit more aggressive in those situations than maybe you normally would.
But I think after 2 walks last night, I think Berkman was looking for that particular pitch, the one he got, and he let it go, and he hit it right on the button. There's nothing you can do. You can't steer the ball.
First and third, 2 down, no score, top of the second. Roy Oswalt, a right-handed hitter, hit 178 during the season. A slow breaking ball misses down and away, ball 1. So Oswalt with some ability, a 178 average this season. A Burke triple with 1 out, and then with 2 out, an intentional walk to Ausmus. Mulder sets. And the 1-0 to Oswalt, and it's inside off the glove of Molina. Skips back toward the third base dugout. In to score is Burke. Up to second is Ausmus, and the Astros take a 1-0 lead.
First time in postseason the Cardinals have trailed, and it took a ball that got off Molina's glove. That'll have to be a pass ball, just a lack of concentration right there. I don't think Mulder crossed him up. I think what he was trying to do is I think he was trying to frame the pitch on the inside corner and just lost focus on catching it.
It is a pass ball charge to Molina. 1-0 Astros. Runner at second, 2 down. And the 2-0 to Oswalt. A little bit high, ball 3. So this strategy of walking the number 8 hitter and going after the pitcher has backfired to this point for the Cardinals.
Probably the first move Tony La Russa has made in postseason that has backfired. Again, he's been on a roll.
Oswalt waggling the bat back and forth, waiting for the 3-0, which no doubt he will take. And Mulder missed upstairs, ball 4. Wow. He just walked the pitcher on 4 pitches to bring up the very dangerous Craig Biggio.
Yeah, and getting back to La Russa, I mean, walking Ausmus, a 353 hitter against Mulder, is, quite frankly, the right move to make. But Molina and Mulder did not execute. And when you don't execute, sometimes it makes the manager look bad.
Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, is out to the mound to talk to Mulder and Molina, the rest of the infielders. The Astros, a 1-0 lead. A very close play at third. Chris Burke called safe with a triple. Despite the Cardinals protesting, they thought the tag was applied ahead of the slide. That forced the infield in. Mulder got the second out, then walked Ausmus. And then a pass ball bringing in a run, and then he walked Oswalt, who's got the jacket on down at first base. Temperature in the mid-60s here tonight. And now back to the top of the order for Biggio. And the pitch for Mulder was the fastball in for a strike, 0-1. Now the official score has also credited Osmus with a stolen base. Osmus was running on the play. So the run scoring on a pass ball, maybe that distracted Molina a little bit, saw Osmus break. So it's a steal for Osmus. Here's the 0-1 to Biggio, and a swing and a bouncing ball foul, third base side, 0-2.
Well, when you get somebody on the ropes, you got to deliver a little better punch than the Astros have done. They kind of got a gift run here. Burke hit it well, but the run came courtesy of a misplay by Molina.
The Astros just 11th out of 16 teams in the National League in runs scored during the season. Here's the 0-2 to Biggio, and it's just below the knees. Biggio with the base hit to left field his first time up.
Yeah, there was a period during the year where the Astros and the Washington Nationals were battling for the number 30 spot in the major leagues in runs scored. Houston finally got their offense going.
A look back at the runner at second base, and now the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. And a cutter in under his hands. Biggio's gone, and the inning is over. But the Astros get a run and lead 1-0 going to the bottom of the second. Grzelcyk, another solid, consistent year with the bat. Hit .294, had 30 doubles, 8 homers, 59 RBIs. The 1-0 is there for a strike, 1-1. And he and David Eckstein, as we mentioned earlier, combined to turn more double plays than any middle infield duo in the National League. They got together back in the first day of spring training, introduced themselves to one another. The 1-1, a fastball at the knees for a strike, 1-2. And Tony La Russa always made sure if one of them was in the lineup, they were both in. Then the next day they'd both get the day off. You were a middle infielder.
Yeah.
Very important to get familiar with your partner out there.
Yeah, Eckstein and Grzelcyk had about a 1-minute conversation. Where do you like to throw? Chest high. Conversation over.
1-2, a broken back ground ball hit weakly back to the mound. Oswalt up with it and lobs it to first to retire Grzelcyk, who's saying that he fouled that ball off, I believe. I think he's saying that ball hit him in the leg and then rolled out to the mound. And now here comes Tony La Russa again. They're asking Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire, to ask either first or third to corroborate his story. And I mean, the bat shattered into about 8 pieces all over the place. And Mark Grzelcyk contending that the ball hit him before he left the batter's box, and it should be a foul ball.
Well, you would think if La Russa is asking, you would think that Gibson, unless he can say 100% that he saw it, would ask the third base umpire. Now, there used to be something with the umpires. If the umpire in question started walking towards you, that meant he saw something. But right now, Gibson's saying, I got it.
It hit him in the foot. We got to look at a replay. It hit him on the toe of the left foot. It went straight down, hit him in the foot, and then bounced on the grass out to Oswalt. Grzelcyk has a case, but Greg Gibson, for reasons known only to him and Tony La Russa, at this point decides not to ask for help. So Grzelcyk is out. And now Abraham Nunez is the batter, and he swings and misses at a first pitch fastball.
And Larry Poncino did take about 4 steps towards home plate.
Here's the 0-1, and Nunez looks at another strike. It's 0-2. They've gotten better. I mean, 5-6 years ago, they would refuse to do it. But, you know, especially the way last night was handled. That's a different crew. The 0-2, a swing and a miss. Nunez overmatched by Oswalt. 2 down. I mean, as you say, why not go do it? Isn't the ultimate point here to get the call right?
Yeah, and that was the one thing when Sandy Alderson took over the umpires many years ago. Can't remember how many, I'll tell you exactly. But one of the things he told the umpires at the time, we're going to do business a new way. It's not defending your buddies. It's getting together and making the correct call.
Yadier Molina, first pitch swinging, a lazy fly ball into shallow right for Jason Lane. He'll make the play, and the inning is over just like that. 3 up and 3 down to go the Cardinals. We're through 2 in St. Louis, 1-0 Houston. Houston leading the Cardinals 1-0. Willie Taveras leads off the third against Mark Mulder. Taveras with a bunt single in the first inning. Weighing on the grass at third again, Nunez. And the pitch from Mulder is upstairs, ball 1. Pujols will play it even with the bag right now at first. If he sees Taveras shorten up on the bat, he'll come racing in. Here's the 1-0, and Taveras swings and he fouls it out of play right side. 172 hits for Taveras during the regular season, Soup. Only 20 of them were extra base hits. 13 doubles, 4 triples, and 3 homers.
Well, he makes things happen.
Yep.
It's
the 1-1, a swing and a little number foul, 1-2.
Yeah, he's no Carlos Beltran, but at $300,000, he probably earned his money more than Beltran did this year, making $19 million or whatever he made with the Mets. Carlos did not have a real good year.
And coming into the season, back at the beginning of spring training, the Astros really had no idea at all what their outfield was going to look like this year. The 1-2 and a breaking ball in the dirt, 2-2. Biggio, remember, he was an outfielder last year. They moved him to second.
Burke was going to be the second baseman.
Yep. Burke instead is platooning in the outfield. Berkman plays both left and first and sometimes right. Lanes and right sometimes. The 2-2, and it's inside at the knees. Full count on Taveras.
And remember, when the Astros got out that 15-30 start, Berkman missed considerable amount of time, still trying to come back from the knee surgery.
Suffered in a flag football game last November. The 3-2 and a swing of the ball. One hopper off the body of Eckstein. Bounces a few feet away to his right, and that's all that Taveras needs to reach safely. He hit a one-hop rocket right at David Eckstein. Came up and hit him in the body and bounced away, and it has scored a base hit for Taveras. So he's got a bunt single and then more of a routine infield single here tonight.
Just revisiting the Grzelcyk play a little bit. The Cardinals wear red shoes. In the old days, all players wore the black shoes, had the shoes polished every day. Incident in the 57 or 58 World Series. Nipsey Jones and also Don Clendenin in the 1969 World Series. Controversial plays, but called foul balls because there was shoe polish on the ball.
Lance Berkman, the batter, and he takes low, ball 1. Well, let me ask you a question I was asked today, whether it pertains to last night's play or tonight's play. Have we come to the point where in certain situations baseball needs instant replay?
Well, probably to some degree, but I mean, when the game is lasting 3 hours and you're playing every day, you got to find some way to really quicken it up if you use it in maybe only 1 or 2 challenges a game.
Throw to first, runner back in. What about 1 challenge per team per game and only in the postseason?
Well, that might make some sense. I mean, you'd hate to think. I mean, you go back to the '85 World Series. That's not the only call that maybe cost a team a world championship. That's one that probably is most fresh in the St. Louis Cardinal fans anyway, in their minds. 1-0
Houston in the third. Another throw to first, and Taveras back in. He had 34 steals in 45 tries during the season, but the young man behind the plate, Yadier Molina, threw out 55% of opposing base runners, and that doesn't include the runners he picked off. He basically shut down the running game. This is the new Pudge right here, Yadier Molina. Runner not going in the 1-0. A swing and a high fly ball to right center field off the bat of Berkman. Racing back is Edmonds. And at the wall, he will make the catch in deep right center. Taveras had gone all the way around second and has to race back to first base.
Boy, Edmonds got a tremendous jump, and that ball stayed in the air a long time, so he was able to run it down. Taveras touched second on the way back. He was already past the bag, but when you retreat to first, you have to retouch second, and he did.
Well, there's a guy in the ballpark, you know the story about Larry Walker, who grew up not playing a whole lot of organized baseball in Canada, and one of his first minor league games did what Taveras did. It got halfway to third, and when the ball was caught, ran right across the infield, almost over the back of the pitcher's mound, not knowing he had to retouch second base on the way back. Here's Morgan Ensberg, first to throw to first, and again Taveras back in standing up.
Yeah, his manager / third base coach, Gene Glenn, told him afterwards, he said, Larry, you got to touch second base. And Larry said, I already did. He said, no, you have to touch it again. But Larry, being a great instinctive player, you only had to tell him once. He never made that mistake again.
Runner at first, 1 out. 1-0 Astros in the third. And the batter, Morgan Ensberg. The pitch from Mulder, and it's up and away, ball 1. That's not a mistake you want to make more than once. That's, once is cute. Twice is twice you got a problem. Jim Edmonds showing great range. Didn't have to jump, didn't bring it back over the fence or anything, as we've seen him do on countless occasions. But it really went a long way to the warning track at right center to come up with a baseball. Ensberg bounced into a double play to end the first inning. And now the 1-0 there at the belt for a strike, 1-1.
Well, I'm absolutely mesmerized. Maybe Mulder's doing something I'm not aware of, but the Astro hitters are taking the hittable pitches up in the zone. That was one right there, and then Ensberg is chasing the sinker or the fork ball down and bounced into a double play.
Now look at the runner at first base, Taveras. And now Mulder will throw over there. And again, Taveras, who doesn't have a huge lead, gets back in easily.
Again, you can't guess with Mulder. You just have to look for a mistake up in the zone, try to center the ball, hit the ball in the middle of the field somewhere. But, you know, I've seen the Astros take at least 4 or 5, you know, fastballs about waist high right down the middle.
Well, as you mentioned, they saw him a lot this year. 4 starts against the Astros during the regular season. Another throw to first. In 3 of them, he was absolutely dominant. And in the 4th one, they roughed him up. And that's kind of been the story for Mulder the last couple of years. He can look like the best pitcher in baseball one day and then have a tremendous amount of trouble. Remember, at the end of the last season with Oakland, he had an awful September. Is he healthy? Is there a problem upstairs? Are his mechanics messed up? The 1-1 fouled back by Ensberg, 1-2.
Was he tired?
Yep.
Mulder, spring training, tried to figure it out himself. He knew he was messed up mechanically, and the more he tried to correct it, the slower his arm speed got, the longer his stride got. He was just a mess by the end of the year last year.
Had a pretty good year this year, 16-8 with a 3.64 ERA. He's 97-50 in his career. We have 2 pitchers here tonight with extraordinary winning percentages. Here's the 1-2 to Ensberg, and it's a fastball away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mulder's 97-50, and Oswalt is 83-39. He has a .680 winning percentage.
Well, right now Mulder kind of dividing his time between Taveras at first base and Ensberg. Sometimes if he slide step, you have a tendency to leave a pitch up in the zone. Ensberg hoping for that.
Taveras being held on by Pujols. The runner goes. The 2-2 taken low, ball 3. The throw down, the tag. They got him. Molina throws him out. Gresolonic applying the tag. And Yadier Molina throws out yet another base runner.
Danny, in 2002, when we were covering the Angels in the World Series and their run to the world title, we were talking to Benji and Jose Molina about Yadier, and they said, there's no question about it. He's got the best arm in the family. Well, he just showed it off right there.
As we mentioned before, threw out better than 50% of opposing base runners on the season. Just 23 years of age. What a future he's got. Now the 3-2, and Ensberg pokes the ball to right field. Here comes Larry Walker running over to the line. He'll reach down and make a nice running catch, and the inning is over. 2 of the National League Championship Series, 1-0 the Astros lead as Mark Mulder steps in and looks at a strike from Roy Oswalt. Mulder, a left-handed hitter, hit 145 on the season. The 0-1, he takes an off-speed pitch upstairs, 1-1. David Eckstein, my shoulder hyperextends just watching him go through his warm-up routine in the on-deck circle. Here's the 1-1 fastball for a strike, 1-2. Eckstein will take the bat in each hand and windmill it around above his head. Goes through all kinds of unbelievable calisthenics before the game, stretches and jumping and toe touches and so forth. And he's not a for show kind of guy. He does what he thinks he needs to do to be successful. Swing and a miss at a changeup on the 1-2, and Mulder is gone, 1 down.
Danny, a friend of mine, Fred Whitaker, was once described the way I feel about David Eckstein. He would make coffee nervous. David Eckstein is perpetual motion.
But you know, he's smart enough to know that just because he got here, if he stops doing what he did to get here, he knows he's not going to be here long. He probably works harder now than he did 5 years ago.
Yeah, they asked him what he did to combat the horrible heat in St. Louis in the summertime. He says he goes home, gets on the couch, and watches TV until it's time to go to the ballpark the next day.
0 for 1 on a fly ball to right field. 1-0 Houston at bottom of the 3rd. And the pitch to Eckstein there for a strike. Gresolonic, his double play partner, and they've become good friends this year, says he's a pretty good guy, but you really got to force him to go out after a ball game. Gresolonic tries to get him to go out and relax a little bit as Eckstein fouls one back 0-2. But Eckstein is all baseball all the time. And there are those who feel that in the three-way shuffle of shortstops, Cabrera, Renteria, and Eckstein, maybe the Cardinals made out the best as he pulls one foul down the 3rd baseline. Cabrera is a terrific defensive player. Didn't hit as well this year as he normally does. Renteria had a few great years here in St. Louis, but did not do as well offensively or defensively as he normally does in Boston this year. He was way down. The 0-2 and a slow curveball bounce down to third to his left. Ensberg has it, spins, fires, and gets him 2 down.
Well, the one thing the Cardinals like to point out is that by getting rid of Renteria and Tony Womack, who signed contracts this year totaling $12 million a year, they got Eckstein and Grzelcyk for a total of 4. So that saved them 8 by my math, and that helped pay for Mark Mulder coming over here. So they kind of made a 3-for-2 swap.
Also, Yadier Molina making less than Mike Matheny made. Matheny, a huge part of the Cardinals' success the last couple of years. But we have seen why the Cardinals felt that the future was bright behind the plate with Yadier Molina. And again, the Cardinals, they'll spend their money, but they've got to save some in certain areas as well, as Edmonds chases a high fastball, and it's 0-1. And I think Walt Jocketty is one of those GMs who does a tremendous job and just doesn't get a lot of attention. Mid-season pickups. The 0-1, a fastball just outside of the knees, a ball and a strike.
Well, this entire club, he's got the 3rd longest tenure of general managers next to John Sherholtz and Terry Ryan, so this is his ball club.
The 1-1, Edmonds looks at a pitch into the knees, 1-2, and kind of bent backwards at the waist after that, as if to say, boy, I'm not going to get one down there again. Oswalt took something off, and he was in at the knees. Now the 1-2, a fastball, and Edmonds is late on it, way late on it, as he fouls it off over the third base dugout.
Think about some of those deadline deals he made. Mark McGuire picked up Woody Williams, Scott Rowland, Will Clark one year, Chuck Finley. He was the master of making the key trade at the deadline to get the Cardinals over the top.
The Cardinals consistently year after year a contender, making the playoffs almost every season. In recent years, they have not won the World Series since 1982. They have won 9 World Championships overall. The 1-2, and Edmonds swings, and he pops it back out of play again.
I think it ties their longest drought in the franchise history, and that began their first year. 1903 was their first year in business, and they went through 1925 without winning, then finally won in 26. So that was a 22-year drought, and they're in one right now.
Trailing 1-0 here, leading the series 1-0. Well, they've had some great errors. The Gas House game, Stan Musial, one of the great players of all time. The Bob Gibson era in the 60s. 1-2, did Edmonds go? Yes, he did, says Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire. And he strikes out, and the inning is over. We are through 3 in St. Louis. The Astros lead the Cardinals 1-0. Dan Shulman and Dave Campbell with you in St. Louis. 1-0. The Astros lead the Cardinals top of the 4th. Jason Lane leads it off for Houston against Mark Mulder and takes a little bit down and in ball 1. Lane called out on strikes in the second and then argued a little bit with Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire. Lane hit .267 with 26 homers during the season, a right-handed batter. And the 1-0, there's a pitch into the knees, 1-1. And again with Mulder, a little cut here, a little sink there, put a little on, take a little off. No 2 pitches seem alike. Big left-hander, about 6'5", 6'6". The 1-1 and a swing and a bouncer foul, third base side, backhanded but in foul territory by Nunez, and it's 1-2.
Be interesting to see if the trend continues this postseason. Going in, the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5 teams in pitching ERA in the major leagues are the 4 teams left. And in the first 3 games that have been played in the LCS, averaging 5.3 runs per game between the 3 games.
It's an encouraging trend and a return to baseball as we used to know it. The 1-2 and a swing and a ball popped up in a very shallow right field. Grzelcyk out, Larry Walker in. It'll be Walker to make the catch. The Cardinals led the majors in ERA, the first time they've done that, I think, since 1969. And it's nice to see 3-2, 4-3, one-run games being played in the playoffs where things like defense and executing, getting a bunt down, good base running, where all of these things really come into play.
Yeah, what'll be interesting is to see how the national audience likes. I mean, baseball's had a tremendous resurgence. I know you and I like that type of baseball. It probably remains to be seen whether the fans do.
Here's Chris Burke, and he'll look at a strike. Burke tripled and scored on a pass ball back in the second, the only run of the night. So now in his last 3 at-bats, he's gone homer, homer, triple. There's the 0-1, and a curveball's outside, a ball and a strike. Former first-round pick by the Astros. They drafted as a shortstop, moved him to second, and then put him out in left field this year when they moved Biggio back into second. Mulder into the wind and the 1-1. A swing and the ball hit off the end of the bat into very shallow right. Pujols racing back. Grzelcyk as well, and it's Grzelcyk taking charge, making the catch down the line for out number 2.
Good play by Mark. He had the better angle. Pujols always going to be aggressive and go after it, but you've got to defer when a player has a better angle on the fly ball.
You know, either we see him on his better nights or he's just a really solid baseball player. He does a lot of things right.
Well, you and I were talking. He was a shortstop for a number of years in the Expo organization. One year hit 300 with 30 stolen bases, and but they converted him to second base. He went to the Bucky Dent baseball school down in Florida to learn how to play the second base and get the footwork there.
Adam Everett takes a strike.
So he went where a lot of amateur kids go, and this guy was a major league star, and he went there to learn the footwork. He's got a great throwing arm. He's really an underrated player.
Definitely got a stronger arm than Eckstein has. The 0-1 and a swing and the ball hit hard but foul down the left field line, hooking out of play, and it's 0-2 on Everett.
Well, Adams had a couple of chances to hit a fly ball and get a run in for the Astros the last couple of days, but he hasn't been able to get it off the ground. He hit a ground ball to Nunez last night and one back to Mulder today with guys on third base.
It's just .248 during the season. The 0-2 in the dirt and bounces past the feet of Everett all the way to the backstop. 1-2. A run on 4 hits for the Astros. No runs, 1 hit for the Cardinals. Mark Mulder and Roy Oswalt. A former 20-game winner in Mulder against a guy in Oswalt who did it this year and also last year. Now the 1-2 and a swing and a miss. Chased the fastball away. He retired Pujols in a ground out to short in the first inning. Now the first pitch, a slider for a strike. A year ago at this time, Oswalt was worn out. He had a rib cage injury. He had to get some injections for the pain. The 0-1 and a slider down and away. A ball and a strike. And he just seemed somewhat on fumes.
Yeah.
Pettit was hurt. Clemens was not pitching as well a year ago at this time. He didn't have as much gas in the tank as he does now. The 1-1, a line drive, one hopper down to first, speared by Berkman, and he feeds Oswalt covering for the out. A good play by Berkman, diving to his right.
Well, the Astros think they're a good defensive team. They've got a terrific shortstop in Adam Everett. Ensberg, he gets his hands on, he's going to catch it. Berkman makes a good play there. Tavares can go get him in left, so they're not a bad defensive team, and you got the great Brad Osmus, who is one of the smartest players in the game behind the plate.
Here's Larry Walker now. He walked back in the first. Oswalt is now retired. Pujols twice, and Oswalt down to the front of the mound to work on his landing spot a little bit. So the Astro pitching is definitely in better shape now than it was a year ago, both in the rotation and the pen, where the setup crew, same guys, but they pitch better this year than last. Pitch to Walker, up and away, ball 1. But, of course, without Jeff Cannon, Carlos Beltran, and Bagwell just a pinch hitter, their offense isn't nearly as good as it was a year ago. The 1-0 to Walker, down low, ball 2.
Amazing thing is we've been into this broadcast now for well over an hour, and we haven't even mentioned Brad Lidge yet, who is not allowed to run to the Cardinals in over 2 years.
Including the postseason last year when he was ridiculously dominant. The 2-0, a swing and a foul back by Walker, 2-1.
8 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, and he will be available for 2 innings tonight. I asked Phil Garner that. He just looked at me. I went, okay, I'll just say it. He's available for 2 innings tonight.
1-0 Astros, bottom of the 4th, and the 2-1 to Walker. A swing and a ground ball up the middle, but playing behind the bag is Everett, the shortstop, and he'll throw out Walker. 2 down as we go back to the studio for a preview of the Mike and Mike show tomorrow morning. Here's Mike Golan.
Thanks, Dan. Tomorrow morning, Peter Gammons joins us at 7:20 Eastern to recap the LCS action. And Greeny dons the leprechaun outfit. Now back to you and Soup from St. Louis.
Well, nothing like costumes on radio. Always good fun. Peter Gammons spending some time in our booth with us here tonight at Busch Stadium. You know you're on at 7:20 tomorrow morning with Mike and Mike? Yes, he does. He's ready to go. 2 outs, nobody on. Reggie Sanders is the batter. 0 for 1 on the night. And the pitch from Oswalt. He blows a fastball by Reggie. And it's 0-1.
That's 6:20 here.
That's true. That's 6:20 here. That's a good point. He's a morning guy. He's a jogger. He's always up early. 0-1 the count on Sanders. Missed a couple of months this year after breaking a bone in his leg in a collision with Jim Edmonds in July. The 0-1 outside, a ball and a strike. Came back in September and didn't hit a lick the first couple of weeks, but really got it together the last week of the season and has driven in a run now in 10 consecutive games. The last 6 of the regular season and the first 4 of the postseason. Oswalt steps off for a moment.
Well, again, that last fastball Oswalt threw out of the windup, his fastball has a lot more electricity. It just exploded out of his hand.
Here's the 1-1 now, and he misses low with a slider. It scrapes the dirt, so they'll take the ball out, put a new one in play. He's one of these guys, there are only a handful of them. When he's on, I don't know how anybody gets a hit off this guy. His stuff is so good, and even though he's not a big guy, he's not all arms and legs. He's got kind of a violent, herky-jerky windup, and he appears to keep the ball hidden for a while. The 2-1, a swing and a miss as he gets tied up, Sanders does, on an inside fastball, and it's 2-2.
You know, when Gardner was talking about Reggie Sanders having some holes in his swing, that is one of the biggest ones right there, above the waist and in. If you got a good fastball, you can get Reggie out there. If you throw it about 82 miles an hour, he'll hit it in the upper deck.
2 outs, nobody on in the bottom of the 4th. The Cardinals batting and trailing 1-0. The 2-2 and a swing and a ground ball between third and short. A diving stop by Ensberg. Back to his feet, and the throw is wide. It'll skip past Berkman and into the dugout. And Sanders will take second base. A great stop by Ensberg. But then maybe a bad decision to throw the ball. It'll go as a base hit and an error on Ensberg.
Well, I thought maybe a bad decision by Ensberg to throw it, and I think also an equally bad decision by Berkman not to come off the base sooner. I think Berkman was trying to stand there and stretch, and then all of a sudden realized, I'm not going to be able to stretch and get that. He should have come off the base sooner and gotten that ball, and then it just would have been a man at first base.
So a single and an error with 2 down here in the bottom of the 4th. Osmus to the mound now to talk to Oswalt. Grzelcyk is the batter. Oswalt retiring Grzelcyk, and a ground ball back to the mound. And now they're calling in Adam Everett, the shortstop, to get in on the conversation.
Well, one thing here is maybe how they're going to pitch Grzelcyk. If they're going to throw more off-speed stuff, they may want Everett to position himself a bit towards the hole. The other thing is Abraham Nunez on deck is 4 for 25 lifetime against Oswalt with 9 strikeouts. So I don't think they can just go immediately after Grzelcyk here.
And one of those strikeouts was tonight in the 2nd inning when Nunez struck out on 3 pitches. The pitch to Grzelcyk up and in, ball 1. Taveras way over to right center field, and that is really Grzelcyk's power alley. That's where he loves to hit the ball. But there is a huge gap in left center. The Cardinals with a runner at second, 2 down in the bottom of the 4th, 1-0 Houston. And the 1-0 pitch now, fastball inside corner for a strike. It's 1-1.
Be a shame in some respects if you're an Astro fan if you give up a run here, because Berkman made a terrific play to start off the inning, and then Everett went ranging behind second base to make a nice play. So it looked like they were going to have a good defensive inning.
Oswalt has his sign, checks Sanders at second, and the 1-1, a fastball swung on and missed, 1-2. Now Oswalt is just rearing back and firing in mid-90s fastballs, and he's overpowering these Cardinal hitters.
Well, his stuff out of the stretch this inning looks good. In the first inning, when he was in the set position, he didn't have as much zip on the ball.
The glove in front of his left leg as he looks into Osmus for the sign. Grzelcyk waiting. Now Oswalt, a glance back at the runner. And the 1-2, and a fastball grounded right out to second. Biggio to a knee, up with it and on to first, and plenty of time to get him and end the inning. No runs, a base hit, an error, and a man left. 1-0 Houston through 4. Top of the 5th, Mark Mulder on the mound for St. Louis, and Brad Osmus will lead off the inning for the Astros. The first pitch from Mulder runs inside, ball 1. Osmus was intentionally walked back in the 2nd inning. Hit the ball very well in the second half of the season. Wound up hitting .258 overall. Here's the 1-0, and he takes just below the knees, ball 2. Osmus appears to be seeing the ball very well here. He has taken a couple of close pitches. On deck is the pitcher, Oswalt, and back to the top of the order for Biggio. The 2-0, and a swing and a pop-up out of play right side, 2-1.
Well, again, these two clubs played 17 times. 16 of them decided by 3 runs or less. So that puts such a premium on pitching, defense, base running, sacrifice bunting, squeeze plays, all the finer points of the game.
Cardinals 12-5 this year against Houston. The 2-1 is upstairs, ball 3, including the win last night. The Astros, this is their 4th trip to the National League Championship Series. They have never made it to the World Series. Got to Game 7 last year. The 3-1 outside corner for a called strike, full count.
Well, they had the rocket going against Jeff Suppan in Game 7, but that hometown magic worked for the Cardinals because last year every game was won at home.
Full count on Osmus, leading off the Astros 5th. And the pitch, a swing and a line drive, well hit left center field. Edmonds giving chase, but this will be by him, and it'll bounce out to the Budweiser sign in deep left center. A leadoff double for Brad Osmus here in the 5th.
Well, you see why Tony walked Osmus last time. Again, the good numbers lifetime against Mulder. And you mentioned Brad really appears to be seeing the ball well. He's got very quiet approach at the plate, and Mulder made a mistake up, and Osmus spanked it up the alley. So let's see if Oswalt can bunt him to third.
He's done it 7 times this year, handles the bat pretty well. And you know, if he can do it, it would force the infield in and make Biggio a better hitter if the infield is in. So these are the little things the Astros have to do well because they don't have a lot of firepower.
Looks like they're going to have the wheel play on with the third baseman charging. David Eckstein is going to be covering, and they're going to give up the play at first base maybe.
Pujols way in on the grass as well. Oswalt squares, pulls the bat back, and he looks at a strike.
So what the Cardinals are doing a new variation on the wheel play. Nunez is charging. Pujols is charging. Eckstein is positioning himself about 3/4 of the way over to third base. Grzelonic's trying to hold Osmus close, but then he starts sprinting for first base. Bottom line is it's going to take a pretty good bunt by Oswalt, or Phil Garner and Doug Manzanillo, the third base coach, are saying, hey, if they charge you, swing the bat.
Again, Grzelonic goes near second to hold Osmus close. Now he sprints to first. The pitch as Oswalt squares, he gets it down. It'll be Nunez who will play it on to Grzelonic covering at first, and Oswalt executes the sacrifice, moving Brad Osmus to third base.
Well, the Cardinals defensed that as well as humanly possible, but Oswalt laid down the perfect bunt, deadened it, went about 10 to 15 feet out, and no chance to get Osmus. Not a fast runner, but decent speed at third base.
Saw Chris Carpenter, the Cardinals starter, get 2 bunts down last night. One of them a squeeze in the Cardinals' 5-3 win.
So again, execution done well by the Astros here. They've had this situation a number of times, and the only time they've scored is when it was a gift run.
Craig Biggio is the batter. And the pitch, a swing and a ground ball past the mound to his left, goes Eckstein up with it. The long throw to first in time to get Biggio, but in to score is Osmus. It is 2-0 Houston. And because Biggio swung at the first pitch, we didn't have a chance to say the infielders were in, except Eckstein at short was deep.
Yeah, and that was kind of ironic because with Adam Everett up in a scoreless game, 1 out, they had the infield in. That time they had the infield in, everybody except Eckstein. It was probably a good decision because if Eckstein's playing in, that ball of Biggio's goes into center field.
Yeah, it was not a routine ball to short. Eckstein had to go way to his left. So an RBI ground out for Biggio, 2-0 Houston. And here's Willie Taveras. He takes low, ball 1.
So a classic get him on, get him over, get him in. And 1 hit in the inning, but a great sacrifice bunt. Biggio put it in play to get the run in. Osmus was coming on contact, and the Astros produce a much-needed second run.
And the way Oswalt is pitching, the Soup said every run could be vital here tonight. The 1-0, a swing and a foul off by Taveras, 1-1. Taveras is 2 for 2 tonight, 2 infield hits, one of them a bunt hit.
Well, the Cardinals in this series, if they're going to win it, they're going to earn it because they're going against 3 guys, Clemens, Pettit, and Oswalt, amongst the best in the game, plus the closer Lidge.
1-1 down and in, ball 2.
And they're going to have to see those starting pitchers 6 times out of 7 games if the series goes that far. So if the Cardinals indeed do it, they will have beaten the best as far as starting pitching.
2 outs, nobody on, 2-0 Astros. In at third, Nunez. The 2-1 to Taveras, fouled off over the first base dugout, out of play. Well, then Pettit figures to be better the next time out after getting hit by a line drive on the inside of his right knee in batting practice last night. Was not 100% healthy or physically able to do what he wanted to do last night. Shouldn't be a problem his next start. The 2-2 line down the right field line, but foul. Clemens has had a little bit of extra rest, I guess. Well, he had the 3 innings at relief on Sunday. Now will pitch again in Game 3 on Saturday. So an extra day's rest from a 3-inning performance, which of course was unscheduled. Had to work out of the pen in the 18-inning game. The 2-2, a bouncing ball back to the mound, speared by Mulder, and he guns it on to first to get Taveras and end the inning. But the Astros add a run. Biggio drives in Osmus, and through 4.5, it's 2-0 Houston. Game 2 of the National League Championship Series on ESPN Radio. Abraham Nunez bunts the first pitch from Oswalt, but he bunted it right in front of the plate, and an easy play for Brad Osmus to throw him out 1 down. Hey, fans, log on to ESPNRadio.com to ask Dave Campbell, your Equifax question of the game. Easier said than done. All you have to do is click the Equifax question of the game link and submit your question. If Soup answers it on the air, you will receive an ESPN Radio gift pack.
And you had the perfect broadcast going, and your tongue
slipped up on your name. Yadier Molina, the batter, hit a fly ball to right field back in the 2nd inning. The pitch from Oswalt, and it's in at the knees for a strike. 0-1. Roy Oswalt, unless he hits a wall or gets fatigued or something, it's going to be tough to beat the way he's pitching right now.
Yeah, he kind of got wet nursed through the 1st inning by Osmus, but he's been great since then.
The 0-1, a swing and a fly ball, right center field. Taveras racing back, and this ball is directly over his head, bounces off the track into the seats for a ground rule double. We jinxed another guy, Soup.
Well, the other thing is that ball was in the air a long time, and again, the scouting report on Taveras says he plays deep, but that isn't the truth at all. He's playing a very shallow center field, and trust me, if Jim Edmonds is out there, that ball is caught.
So a ground rule double for Molina with 1 out of the bottom of the 5th. 2-0 the Astros lead, and now here is Mark Mulder, who struck out his first time up.
And it's one thing to have the ball like Osmus hit and the ball Chris Burke hit get in for doubles and triples, but that ball was in the air a long time. But again, Taveras is playing very shallow. I guess he should against Mulder.
Oswalt looked back at the runner Molina, and the pitch to Mulder, a late swing and a miss, at a pitch up and away, and it's 0-1.
Thought I saw something in Mulder's bio that when he was at Michigan State University, when he wasn't pitching, he was an all Big Ten first baseman. He's lost his swing, if that's the case.
There's no evidence of Dontrelle Willis' swing in this guy. There's a strike taken, and it's 0-2. Or Jason Marquis or Mike Hampton.
Yeah, well, hitting 82 is a little easier than hitting 96.
Yeah. Crowd getting into it. Those who have the Thunder Sticks are now using them here in St. Louis. A look back at the runner, and the 0-2, a breaking ball swung on and missed. And Mulder way out in front looking for the gas, and he didn't get it. Oswalt gets him 2 down.
Boy, you just brought up a name that was interesting because, each day we write down the extra men on the both sides, left-handed batters, right-handed batters, pitchers. I just added Jason Marquis' name on the hitting list because after John Mabry, he may be the second pinch hitter off the bench if Tony hasn't used him out of the bullpen. He's that good a hitter.
He was 6 for 12 against the Astros this year. He did not exactly get in the good graces of Tony La Russa, though, yesterday complaining to the press about it being bumped to the bullpen. He was the number 5 starter during the season, and he's working out of the pen in the playoffs. David Eckstein, the batter, was swinging a miss 0-1. The Cardinals going with Jeff Suppan, or will go with Jeff Suppan in Game 4. And Marquis saying, of course I'm disappointed. I don't want to pitch in the bullpen. I want to be a starter. I don't understand why I'm not a starter when I pitched so well against the Astros this year. La Russa not impressed, but La Russa told us, to his credit, Marquis went in and found La Russa so they could have a talk before La Russa sent somebody to go find Marquis. So
Jason struck first.
Yes.
And wisely so.
0-1 the count on Eckstein. 2-0 Houston, bottom of the 5th. The pitch from Oswalt taken high. La Russa also pointed out to us before the game that 3 veteran players, he didn't name them, came into La Russa's office before Marquis got to the ballpark and said, has Jason been in to see you yet? And La Russa says the veterans, and they've got a great core, a great group here, they really police the clubhouse so much that La Russa doesn't have to do a lot of it himself.
Good job by Molina here, taking an aggressive lead. He knows he's really going to have to go because Eckstein doesn't hit it very far, and he could be duck soup at the plate. This is a case of a guy that's not a fast base runner, but he could be a good base runner here because he's taken an aggressive lead. If Eckstein, who, you got Lane playing shallow and right, Taveras in center, Chris Burke and left, and Molina doesn't run. That's a bad formula to try to score on a hit to the outfield. But you've got to take a good lead and be moving up on the pitch.
Eckstein fouled the 1-1 back into the screen, so now a ball and 2 strikes. Runner at second, 2 down. Oswalt sets and fires, and a fastball up and in. Drops Eckstein to the dirt.
How dare they pick on little David?
Boy, never mind the dugouts and bullpens empty. 50,000 people would jump out of the stands and go after Oswalt if he hit David Eckstein. Favorite son number 1, or pretty close to it here in St. Louis. 2-2 the count. And a huge lead by Molina, dancing way down toward third, and finally Oswalt says, all right, that's enough, and he steps off.
Yeah, the one thing that makes Eckstein so tough in this situation is he's difficult to strike out. That's not saying Oswalt won't, but he'll have to make a great pitch to do it.
The 2-2, and it's a fastball inside, full count. Eckstein striking out only 44 times on the season at over 600 at-bats. If Oswalt loses him, Jim Edmonds comes up. Astros 2, Cardinals nothing. But a runner at second, 2 down, and the St. Louis fans now as noisy as they've been all night. Eckstein waving the bat back and forth. Oswalt nods in agreement with Brad Ausmus. Checks the runner and deals, and the 3-2 is high, ball 4. Eckstein sprints down to first, and here comes Jim Edmonds. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the National League Championship Series on ESPN Radio, delivered by the United States Postal Service.
You're listening to the St. Louis Cardinals on XM Satellite Radio.
Back at Busch Stadium, Roy Oswalt getting some reassuring words from Lance Berkman, Adam Everett, and Brad Ausmus. The Cardinals with a chance here. First and second, 2 down, trailing 2-0. The batter, Jim Edmonds.
Danny, last night, Chris Carpenter, like all good pitchers that win games, faced 2 critical situations. Got out of both of them. Bases loaded, double play ball, and got some help from his defense in the third. This is so key with Edmonds because not only can he do damage, but if he gets on, best hitter in baseball maybe comes up next.
That's Pujols. The pitch to Edmonds, and it misses low, ball 1. Edmonds singled in the first, struck out in the third. Bats with a wide stance and really has no discernible front leg lift. Just goes up on his toes and then back down again, but still generates a ton of power. Hit 29 home runs during the season, and now Oswalt wants a new baseball put in.
I think it's the Jim Cott theory here. Pitcher wants a new baseball. It's usually because he doesn't like the seams, wants to throw something off speed. We'll see.
See if that's what's coming, and we'll see if Edmonds is looking for it. Again, the crowd are making as much noise as they have all night. The Cardinals trying to break out here and score against Roy Oswalt in the 5th inning. He has held them off the score sheet for 4 2/3, allowing only 3 hits. The 1-0. No, it's a fastball, and it's a strike, 1-1.
Guess he wanted to throw a 2-seam fastball with his seams.
Oswalt all business out there. Very intense and focused. Edmonds does not leave the batter's box between pitches. Hardly moves his feet. Now Oswalt straightens up with a sign. And the 1-1 fastball looked good, but taken just inside for ball 2. And Oswalt with an expression on his face that suggests he is rather frustrated he didn't get that call, and I don't blame him.
Well, I saw Ausmus, so on the replay, move his glove slightly, and that usually indicates the catcher didn't think it was a strike either.
At second base, Yadier Molina. At first base, David Eckstein. 2 down. Infielders playing Edmonds to pull. The 2-1, a swing and a miss. Through a fastball by him, it's 2-2.
Well, again, Oswalt facing his first real critical situation in this game.
Had 2 men on in the first, but got out of it. 3 up, 3 down in the second and the third. An error in the fourth, and now a double and a walk here in the 5th. 2-0 Houston, trying to even up the series at a win apiece. Oswalt straightens up with a sign. And the 2-2, and a swing, and the ball pops out of play into the upper deck just to our left.
Albert Pujols just stands calmly on deck, taking nice, easy swings. Picture of relaxation, but he's relaxed, but he's also one of the most intense players in the game.
Yes, Tony La Russa, what separates Pujols from other players, the first thing he does not say is ability or talent. He talks about Pujols' relentless desire to be the best. Now he never gives an at-bat away. The 2-2, and it's the same pitch that didn't go Oswalt's way 2 pitches ago, and again it is called inside, so the count is now full.
Astros didn't move his glove that time, so Brad obviously thought that he had the corner there.
Now not only is it 3-2, but the runners will be on the move. Molina from second, Eckstein from first. Oswalt just now towing the rubber. Looks into Osmus as Edmonds waits. Righty shakes off Osmus once, now twice. Now he nods and straightens up with a sign. The runners go. The 3-2. Strike 3 called at the knees. Oswalt finally gets the strike call and ends the inning. No runs, a base hit, 2 men left, and we're through 5 in St. Louis. 2-0 Astros. John Miller, Joe Morgan bringing you the ALCS. Soup and I covering the NLCS. Lance Berkman leads off the 6th against Mark Mulder, and he bounces one in the hole between third and short into left field. A leadoff base hit for Berkman here in the 6th inning. The Astros already leading 2-0.
Going back to that at bat of Jim Edmonds, I think Oswalt threw him a slider or cut something. Goes back to a couple of things that Brad Osmus said. First of all, he says Oswalt has the best stuff of the starting staff. And then his other one said if Babe Ruth were reincarnated, Oswalt would find a way to get him out. I think he invented a pitch there to get Edmonds, and it was brilliant.
Here's Morgan Ensberg 0 for 2, including a double play ball. The pitch from Mulder, inside corner for a strike. Ensberg raising his arms up in the air, but it caught the inside corner. Now Ensberg steps out, looks down to Doug Mansolino with third. Berkman, the runner at first. Not much of a lead, being held on by Pujols as Mulder looks into Molina for the sign. Now the big lefty ready to go. And he deals, and it's way outside. Backhanded stab there by Molina. The count, a ball and a strike. 80 pitches, by the way, through 5 innings for Roy Oswalt. Had a battle there in the 5th, but he got out of trouble.
Yeah, and those are the type of things that take so much out of your arm when you have to battle like that against great hitters.
Ensberg waiting, the count 1-1. Mulder eyes the runner, now deals, and a swing and a pop-up out of play right side, 1-2.
I mean, Edmonds with 331 lifetime homers, a 291 hitter. I mean, he can take a mistake, and especially if he's swinging the bat well, and put the Cardinals ahead 3-2. Oswalt just missed with a couple of pitches, but instead of pouting, he came back and made a brilliant 3-2 pitch.
Pretty resilient, pretty tough guy. Back-to-back 20-game winner, Roy Oswalt. Here's the 1-2, and a swing and a line drive, well hit to right center field, racing into the alley. Jim Edmonds dives, and he has caught the ball, and racing back to first base is Berkman ahead of the throw as Edmonds, diving headlong on the warning track in right center, makes another spectacular catch.
Well, last year in Game 7, the Astros were ahead 2-0 and threatening to put the game away. And Brad Osmus hit a ball that looked like it was ticketed for the alley with a couple on. Edmonds made a circus catch then, and he may have saved Mark Mulder's bacon right there. That is a brilliant play by a Gold Glove center fielder. And I guess we ought to get used to seeing it, but they just keep getting better.
Not only was the ball hit a long way, but it was slicing away from him into right center. He left his feet, dove headlong, made the catch, landed on the warning track, and immediately got back up to his feet and fired the ball back into the infield. So Ensberg retired. Berkman got back to first, and now Jason Lane is the batter. The pitch for Mulder, and a swing and a pop-up right side, back out of play into the seats.
Well, again, we go back to the ball that Molina hit that Taveras couldn't catch up with. That was much higher in the air than this one. But Edmonds, because he plays a little bit deeper, was able to track it and make the brilliant catch.
So runner at first, one out. The crowd still buzzing after another great Jim Edmonds catch. 2-0 Astros in the 6th. And the 0-1 to Lane. A swing and a ground ball pulled sharply but foul. Third base side of the count now 0-2.
Our friends on TV just showed that catch that Edmonds made in Game 7 last year against Brad Osmus, and that was the one that really turned that game back towards the Cardinals. And I think the score was the same then, 2-0 Astros.
Now there's some great ones around. Edmonds has won 7 Gold Gloves. Andrew Jones, of course, Torrey Hunter. Some absolutely great center fielders playing the game these days. 0-2 the count on Jason Lane. He is struck out and flied out. A look at the runner by Mulder, and the pitch off the outside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Edmonds at times gets criticized for, justly or unjustly, for making a catch look a little bit tougher than he might have needed to. This was not one of those cases. That was an extraordinary diving catch. 1-2 the count on Lane. And the pitch from Mulder, a swing and a pop-up out of play right side.
Well, Edmonds has been center stage. He had that long at bat with Roy Oswalt in the bottom of the 5th inning, but didn't let it affect his defense, and it very rarely does because he knows there's 2 sides to the game.
As we look at him standing out in center field, his entire chest just covered in the dirt from the warning track right now. 2-0 the Astros lead in the 6th inning. And the 1-2 to Lane. A slow breaking ball swung on and missed. Mulder strikes him out, 2 down.
Well, pretty good battle right there, but Mulder won it. Molina, seeing Lane going the other way, I guess he just figured Jason was waiting, so he threw it even slower and said, wait on this one.
Now Chris Burke. Burke, the left fielder, has tripled and scored and popped up. The lead at first by Berkman, 2 down, as Mulder sets. He deals, and Burke swings at the first pitch and swings through it, chased the ball away, and it's 0-1. Burke talking in the soundbite we played off the top of the show tonight about how whether it's him, a rookie, or a guy in his 40s like Roger Clemens, the Astros all appreciate how special this is and how great an opportunity they have to take this team to the World Series. 0-1, a slow curve there for a strike. 0-2. A lot of young players get there early in their career and think it's going to keep happening and may never get there again.
Chipper Jones, rookie year, won the world title with the Atlanta Braves. Still looking to go back and get the ring, the 2nd ring.
No balls, 2 strikes, the count on Burke. Right-handed hitter facing the lefty Mulder. And to throw to first, Berkman scampers back. Berkman's knee is not 100%. He's not really much of a threat.
Tippy toes back.
Graceful's not the first word
no.
that comes to mind.
Strong, yes. Graceful, no.
Yeah. Mulder sets. And the 0-2 to Burke, a swing and a foul off, going off speed again against a hitter he may think is a little bit over anxious or a little bit over aggressive up there, Chris Burke. And Burke right now steps out. He's having a little mental chat with himself about his game plan now, what to look for with Mulder having an 0-2 stranglehold on him. Mulder is nearing 100 pitches right now. The Cardinals trailing 2-0 in the 6th inning. The lefty sets and fires, and it comes in down and in. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The right-hander Brad Thompson has now started warming up in the Cardinal bullpen. Only a great catch by Edmonds this inning has prevented the Astros from adding to their lead. Now the 1-2 and a swing and a foul off down the right side. Mulder looks like he went with a changeup there, and again Burke was out in front.
Yeah, one of the things, a number of the Astro hitters have made a pretty good adjustment in this game of taking Mulder the other way. Early on they were trying to roll over or pull the ball on him. They were hitting a lot of weak ground balls, but they've been driving the ball to the alleys and left and right center, and only the great catch by Edmonds saved it from being uglier this inning for St. Louis.
Mulder getting a sign from Molina, eyes Berkman. And now again the pitch and a breaking ball hit right up the first baseline, and Pujols races up to meet it before it goes foul. A good play by Pujols. He comes up with the ball, tags Burke, and the inning is over. No runs, a hit, and a phenomenal catch by Jim Edmonds. And the first pitch to Pujols, a slow curve in at the knees for a strike. The Cardinals, by the way, we mentioned the Astros were 11th in the National League in runs scored during the season. The Cardinals were 3rd. The 0-1 and a swing and a fly ball drilled deep left field. headed for the bullpen and gone over the visitors' bullpen. Home run, Albert Pujols. And the Cardinals are on the board, trailing 2-1.
I don't know how many times we've seen it lately, Danny, especially in postseason, when one team makes a great defensive play, and you wouldn't think that would hold true in baseball, but it seems to ignite the offense. So the great play by Edmonds saves a run probably, and Pujols comes in and smokes a homer. We saw it with Sean Figgins a couple of times with the Angels.
Pujols got a fastball, thigh-high, middle in, and hit a rocket over the bullpen in left center for a home run. Here's Larry Walker. And the pitch is swinging a ground ball down to first, backhanded by Berkman. The race is on between a couple of guys with bad knees, and Berkman will beat Walker to the bag for the out. Walker's got more concerns than that, a bad neck and back and so forth. Berkman wins the race. We get another look at the home run by Albert Pujols. You and I have done a lot of games here, Sue. There aren't many homers that he hits. When he hits them and you go, boy, that's got a chance. When he hits them, he hits them.
Well, yesterday they said Reggie Sanders was 445. This one's further, so we'll wait for the measurement on that one.
The Astros 2, the Cardinals 1. One out of the bottom of the sixth, and here is Reggie Sanders, 1 for 2. The Oswalt pitch, a fastball swung on and missed. 95-mile-an-hour heat, inside corner, and it is 0-1 on Reggie Sanders.
That's his hole, but how many guys throw 95 and can locate? But, you know, if you can throw 3 fastballs there to Reggie, you'll get him out.
The bullpen remains quiet for the Astros. The Pujols home run measured at 438 feet. His first of this postseason, his 9th career postseason homer. The 0-1, another fastball up and in, swung on and missed. That one at 96. And Oswalt's out in front, 0-2.
They better get their abacus out, because Reggie Sanders' ball went in the second row of the load seats out there, and so did Pujols, but Pujols was more towards center field. They said his was 445 yesterday, Sanders.
0-2 on Reggie Sanders. A 2-1 lead now for Houston. Cardinals batting in the bottom of the sixth. And the pitch from Oswalt, another fastball swung on and missed. He threw 3 fastballs pretty much in an identical spot up and in, and Reggie Sanders could not lay off any of them.
Well, Reggie Sanders in 56 postseason games before this year had a total of 13 RBIs. This year, in 4 postseason games, he had 12. But they weren't getting the ball. Pitchers weren't getting the ball in that hole where you can exploit him up and in. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do it, but Oswalt at 95 miles an hour did.
Here's Mark Grzelcyk. Now 2 outs, nobody on. Ensberg backing up at third base as the pitch is delivered, and it's a slider in for a strike. 0-1 on Grzelcyk. Grzelcyk 0 for 2 on ground outs tonight. The crowd energized again here at Busch Stadium after the home run by Pujols. The 0-1, a fastball poked down the right field line, but slicing back out of play. And Oswalt jumps out in front, 0-2. We can see from the way Oswalt is pitching since the home run that it didn't rattle him at all. He's still coming right after them, mixing up his pitches, throwing strikes. He didn't fluke his way into back-to-back 20-win seasons. Here's the 0-2, and a swing and a foul back. Think of the 20-game winners in this series. Andy Pettit's done it.
Yep.
Roger Clemens has done it, obviously. Roy Oswalt's done it.
Yep.
Chris Carpenter did it this year.
Yep.
Matt Morris has done it. Mark Mulder has done it.
So, I'd say we got some pretty good pitchers in this series.
So the front 3 for each team, they've all won 20 games at one point or another. Here's the 0-2, fastball up and in. Grzelcyk bailing out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A couple of great closers, each 40 save guys in their careers. Jason Isringhausen and Brad Lidge. Two-1 Houston, bottom of the sixth, 2 outs and nobody on. The 1-2 and a curveball bounce back to the mound, backhanded by Oswalt, and from the mound he'll throw out Grzelcyk to end the inning. But the Cardinals get a run on a leadoff homer by Pujols. And through 6, it's now Houston 2, St. Louis 1. After the Albert Pujols home run in the bottom of the 6th. Adam Everett leads off the 7th for Houston against Mark Mulder. Swing and a miss at a first pitch cutter. And it's 0-1. Everett is grounded out and struck out tonight.
Think back to that Game 2 of the Angels series. They were down 2-0. They were down 1 game to none.
The 0-1 down and in, a ball and a strike.
Angels looked like they were going to fall further behind. Sean Figgins made a brilliant play. And then Juan Rivera came in, hit a home run to make it 2-1. And then the next thing you knew, the Angels had taken the lead. Then he made the great catch in center field.
1-1, a swing and a ground ball down to the third baseman Nunez, up with it and on to first for the out. Everett retired 1 down.
After he made that great catch in center field off Gary Sheffield in game number 3, they were ahead 5-0. Then it was 5-4. He made the great catch, and then the Angels came in, got the offense going again, and Edmonds makes the great play, and Pujols hits a homer. So I don't know. I doubt there's any correlation, but it certainly is showing up in postseason. I
would think there would be. I mean, if you're sitting in the dugout and a guy makes great defensive plays and everybody in the dugout really pumped up and the adrenaline gets going. Here's Brad Ausmus, and he'll take a cutter inside, ball 1. Roy Oswalt is out in the on-deck circle wearing the warm-up jacket.
It's not as though you can go down on the kickoff team, though, and kick somebody's backside. It's a little bit different game.
Here's the 1-0 to the Astro catcher, misses inside again. Got an interesting question here tonight for you, Soup. The Equifax question of the game. Get your credit score and credit report now. Visit Equifax.com or call 1-800-4-EQUIFAX. The 2-0 on the outside corner for a strike. It comes from Joe Hornback of Phoenix, who wants to know, why do teams and announcers rant and rave so much about small ball or smart ball when, statistically speaking, giving up an out decreases the chance of scoring runs? The 2-1 and a swing and a bouncer foul, 2-2.
Well, personally, I think it's an American League theory. I mean, Earl Weaver espoused it with the DH, and I see it more over there. But bottom line is, I mean, statistics are wonderful, but the greatest thing in the game is still if you've got great pitching. And as Mike Socia says, the better the pitching, the more important small ball becomes, because you're not going to score very many runs. You have to manufacture.
Pitch down low, and the count now full on Ausmus.
Again, we've got the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5 in the major leagues in lowest ERA left in this tournament. The Yankees and the Red Sox, the Texas Rangers, all these teams that scored tons of runs, they're gone. They didn't play small ball. They don't have to play small ball because they don't have the pitching to play small ball. You play small ball when you have good pitching.
3-2 is a fastball over the outside corner. Ausmus is called out on strikes, 2 down.
Yeah, you just don't play for 1 run at a time when you have bad pitching. But when you have great pitching, then you have to adjust to your personnel.
Well, I think Tony La Russa has adjusted. Last year, with a healthy Scott Rowland, Edmonds had a bigger year, and so on and so forth. They didn't bunt nearly as much as they have this year. But this year, Sanders was out, Walker was out, Rowland was out. So he has adjusted his managing style to a certain extent.
Yeah, we talked about it with the squeeze plays. I mean, 15 of them this year, way more than he's ever done before.
Here's Roy Oswalt, 2 outs, nobody on. And the pitch for Mulder in at the knees for a strike. So Ozzie Guillen and Mike Socia, Tony La Russa, do you approve of their style of baseball?
Absolutely. They're playing to their personnel. Mike Socia's often said, hey, I'd love to have guys that hit 30 home runs. I only had one guy hit more than 17.
The 0-1 is lined into right field. That is a base hit for Oswalt. Larry Walker wanted to come up throwing out there in right, but Albert Pujols was not at the bag. He was still playing well off the base, so Walker just had to fire it into second base.
I can't tell you how many times in Colorado when I was broadcasting the Rockies that Larry Walker would come up gunning to first base. Albert Pujols, I mean, they've played together for over a year, so I know Larry's brought it up to him. I don't know why Albert didn't cover the bag.
So a 2-out single for Oswalt, and back to the top of the order for Biggio, who is 1 for 3. Singled in the first, struck out in the second, and drove in a run with a ground out in the 5th. 2-1, Houston leads in the 7th. And the pitch to Biggio, swinging a line drive, base hit into left center. Over to cut it off is Edmonds, and Oswalt will make the turn but stop at second base. Back-to-back 2-out singles in the bullpen, getting loose again for the Cardinals. Our thanks to Joe Hornback of Phoenix. He's won an ESPN Radio gift pack. To ask your Equifax question of the game, log on to ESPNradio.com.
Good question, though.
Yep.
I mean, again, we've been so used to seeing the Yankees and Red Sox dominate postseason, but Joe Torre will be the first one to tell you, they were the Bronx Bombers, but the reason they won the 4 titles is they outpitched the other teams. They haven't had that luxury lately.
Well, and Joe, I think there was extra information in the question, a source and so forth that we didn't read, but Joe is very into, it sounds like, the sabermetrics and that sort of thing. And I think that using the bunt, giving up an out and so forth, decreases your chance of having a big inning, of scoring multiple runs, But at times, managers feel it may be their best chance to get one run in an inning. It all depends on the situation of the game, the inning and score and so forth.
And you pointed out in this series, 6 guys that are starting that have won 20 or more games.
Here's Willie Taveras. First pitch swinging, bounces one foul, third base side.
They didn't win 20 games giving up multiple runs. So you have to scratch and claw, and both managers are going to do that. They've played this game close to the vest, sacrifice bunt, ground out, pass ball. It's been the kind of the difference. So they're playing small ball, and that's what they're doing in the American League too.
Right-hander Brad Thompson, left-hander Randy Flores throwing in the Cardinal pen. First and second, 2 down for the Astros. And the 0-1 to Taveras, a curveball outside.
It's going to be tough for Oswalt to score on a base hit. Walker's got a great arm. Edmonds has a great arm. Reggie Sanders has a good arm, and Oswalt is not a real sprinter at second base.
Nunez in on the grass at third. Pujols playing deep, well behind the runner at first. A look back by Mulder, and the 1-1 to Taveras, a swing and a ground ball right at the second baseman to Grzelcyk. On to Pujols. The inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. Ensberg even with the bag at third. The first pitch to Nunez is fouled straight back 0-1. Taveras way over to left center field, and again fairly shallow. Out in the outfield, Berkman deep and somewhat guarding the line at first. They're really playing Nunez to hit the ball the other way. Burke has come over a few steps toward the line. The 0-1 and a swing and a weak ground ball back to the mound. First base side. Oswalt has it and fires it on to Berkman in plenty of time to get Nunez for the out. Oswalt pretty agile out there fielding his position.
Yeah, he's quick. Good communication too. He put his hand up to let Berkman know, you go to the bag and cover. I got this ball. So, you know, generally the pitcher goes for it and the first baseman goes for it, and if the pitcher can't get it, the first baseman gets it and shovels it to the pitcher. But in that case, Oswalt waved Berkman back to the bag right away.
The attendance tonight is sellout, 52,358 here at Busch Stadium. Their Cardinals trailing the Astros 2-1 at the bottom of the 7th. Yadier Molina is the batter, and the young catcher looks at a slider in for a strike. It's 0-1. John Rodriguez has come out on deck in Mark Mulder's spot. J-Rod, as he's known locally, had some nice moments when he first came up to the big leagues. Hit like crazy for a few weeks. Here's the 0-1 and a fastball line down the right field line. That is a foul ball. Just a couple of feet to the right of the line, and it's 0-2 on Molina.
Good approach by Molina, taking Oswalt the other way, not trying to pull him. And Roy left a breaking ball up, got away with one there.
Well, we heard the story when we were talking to Mike Scioscia during the first round that Benji was actually a shortstop growing up, which kind of mystified both of us. And Jose was the catcher. Yadier is much younger, 7-8 years younger than the other two. The 0-2 and a curveball's hit to left field. Burke is going back. He's twisting and turning, and it's over his head. Bounces over the fence into the Houston bullpen for a ground rule double. Burke got a bit of a late jump going back at that ball. Had to kind of reach back over his head to try and make a play on it. And it'll be the second ground rule double of the night for Yadier Molina.
Well, I'm sure the Astros know what they're doing, but for some reason their outfielders are playing awfully shallow. Usually you play a no doubles defense, and a high fly ball has gotten over both Taveras and Burke's head. Molina hit that with one hand, but Chris Burke not playing very deep, so the Astros have been burned twice with those shallow play of their outfielders.
And remember, Burke is a converted infielder, hardly played any outfield at all before this year, but Phil Garner feels he's already developed into one of the better defensive outfielders in the National League. Activity beginning right now in the Houston bullpen. The tying run is at second with 1 out for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 7th, and John Rodriguez comes up to bat for Mark Mulder. The left-handed hitter hit .295 and 149 at-bats this year. The pitch from Oswalt, a breaking ball for a strike, and it's 0-1.
You'd have to consider, I would think, perhaps pinch running for Molina at second base, but Tony La Russa so far has not done that.
0-1 the count on Rodriguez. The Astros clinging to a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 7th, and now time is called. Julian Taveras has started warming up in the Cardinal pen. Chad Qualls, a right-hander, is warming up in the Astros pen. Fastball misses down and away now to Rodriguez, and the count is 1-1. So Phil Garner will go to Lidge for 2. we think, but not for more than 2.
I don't think he can go more than 2. So, I mean, this is a critical juncture right now. But again, the Astro defense, couple, to me, mispositioned by their outfielders, have hurt them.
Here's the 1-1. Rodriguez checks the swing, and he takes outside, ball 2. Although if he was willing to go to Lidge in the 8th, I would think Wheeler would be up in the 7th, because Wheeler's more of the normal 8th inning guy, if that makes any sense. Well, we'll see how Phil Garner plays it if the Astros hang on to this lead. David Eckstein on deck right now for the Cardinals. Runner at second. 1 out, 2-1 the count on the pinch hitter, John Rodriguez, holding the bat flat on his shoulder as Oswalt sets. The pitch, and it's off speed and inside. 3 balls and a strike.
Boy, Oswalt, guy cold off the bench. You really have to take your chances with him, I think, a little more. Again, David Eckstein, such a pest, and he seems to be seeing the ball so well right now.
Oswalt nearing 100 pitches. Trying to protect a 1-run lead. A look back at the runner in the 3-1. He bounced it in, ball 4. Now the go-ahead run will go to first base. Eckstein will be coming up, and we'll see if Oswalt is going to get a visit.
Well, again, with David Eckstein, the outfield has been playing shallow all night. They figure to play shallow on him. Yadier Molina doesn't run all that well, but so far, no pinch runner.
Here comes Eckstein. The next pitch for Oswalt will be number 100. And now, here comes Jim Hickey, the pitching coach.
Well, not a bad idea just to come out. He's not going to take Oswalt out of this game, but wants to give Roy a little breather. He knows he's probably starting to get out on the end of the rope. And Qualls is up, and Lidge getting up also.
I think the lefty, Mike Gallo, is getting up, maybe to face either Edmonds or Walker. Edmonds is on deck right now. Walker a couple of spots behind him. Gallo is their one lefty specialist that they have down in the pen. They've got a long man in Wandy Rodriguez. So Qualls should be ready soon, if not now. And Gallo might not need much more time, as Hickey's buying quite a bit of time here out on the mound, waiting for Greg Gibson to break up the meeting.
One of the things David Eckstein tries to do in this situation is try to go to the right side of the diamond. He figures that if he can get the second baseman moving towards first base, that makes it an extremely difficult turn on the double play. Plus, he's got a decent hole on the right side to shoot through. So I don't think he'll be looking to pull a ball here. He's going to try to go opposite field.
Eckstein tonight 0 for 2 with a walk against Oswalt, 4 for 11 in his career. A 2-1 Houston lead with 1 out on the bottom of the 7th, but Yadier Molina's at second, hit a ground rule double to left with 1 out, and then pinch hitter John Rodriguez walks. Now Eckstein choking way up on the bat as always as Oswalt looks in for the sign. The righty has it, checks the runner, he deals, and it's a fastball inside, ball 1.
Biggio yelling something at Adam Everett, the shortstop.
Ensberg even with the grass at third. Taveras playing Eckstein to hit to right center. Big gap in left center. Berkman deep at first, well behind the runner Rodriguez. Edmonds waiting on deck. 1-0 the count, and the pitch there for a strike. 1-1. Threw him a 1-0 slider, and Eckstein took it for a strike. Rawls and Gallo continuing to throw. In the Houston bullpen, Eckstein stays in the box, just staring out at Oswalt, waiting for the pitcher to get his sign. Oswalt sets and fires, and a fastball runs inside, ball 2.
Well, Oswalt knows Eckstein wants to go the other way. He's trying to crowd him with the fastball.
Ensberg again creeping in, now even with the bag at third. Middle infielders hoping for the double play. Molina edges off second. Rodriguez the lead at first. Many of them standing, clapping their thunder sticks, cheering on their Cardinals here in the bottom of the 7th. The 2-1 and a fastball fouled off right side, and it's 2-2 on David Eckstein.
Well, David tried to shoot it out there, and Oswalt had just enough in on Eckstein, so he couldn't get the bat hit extended.
Oswalt knows this is likely his last inning, being asked to get out of one more jam. Might not even get a chance to finish this inning, depending on what Eckstein does and whether Phil Garner wants his lefty to face Jim Edmonds. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count. Eckstein waving the bat back and forth as Oswalt sets and deals, and a swing and a foul off right side again. Now the fastball has not lost much in velocity, Sue. Still throwing consistently at 94.
Yeah, well, he's rested. If he can get Oswalt, then the question, or if he can get Eckstein, the question becomes now for Phil Garner. Has he expended so much energy? Should I bring the lefty to pitch to Edmonds? But first things first, we got to deal with David Eckstein.
Ensberg is backed up now with the count having gone 2-2. The pitch, a swing and a fly ball to right center field. Tavares setting up, medium depth, makes the catch for the out, and Molina bluffs the start. The throw comes into the shortstop. 2 down, the runners hold at first and second. Now Edmonds arrives at the plate, and we'll keep an eye on Phil Garner in that third base dugout. No sign of him yet.
Well, I'm guessing he's letting Oswalt go to the wall right here. I think Hickey probably told him this is going to be your last inning. Do not hold anything in the tank. Give me everything you got.
Edmonds singled in the first, struck out in the third, struck out again in the fifth. So 2-1 Houston. First and second, 2 down, bottom of the 7th. Edmonds the batter. Albert Pujols is now on deck. Oswalt looking into Ausmus, now has the sign. Checks the runner Molina, and the pitch to Edmonds. A swing and a ground ball down to first. Berkman has it. He'll underhand it to Oswalt, covering, and the inning is over. A pump of the fist from Roy Oswalt after getting out of that 2-on, 1-out jam. He's never dull, Julian Tavares, that we know.
Nope, redemption for Julian.
Yep.
We talked to him yesterday about the incident, and of course, you know, he got absolutely hammered in the press and by his teammates, and rightly so. So he finally called home for a little sympathy, and his father jumped him worse than anybody else.
Here's Lance Berkman leading off the 8th for the Astros, and he takes a breaking ball outside, ball 1. Tavares had a 3.43 ERA this year in 74 appearances, covering 65 2/3 innings. Berkman is 1 for 3 tonight, now batting left-handed. And the pitch from Tavares in the dirt, ball 2. Mark Mulder goes 7 innings tonight. He gives up 2 runs, 1 earned on 8 hits, walks 2, one of them intentional, strikes out 6. The unearned run is a result of a Yadier Molina pass ball, allowing a run to score in the second. The 2-0 to Berkman, there for a strike, 2-1.
Tavares and Ray King, the primary setup men for Tony La Russa, the last month of the season did not pitch very well, and that had to cause Tony some concern. Then they lost Al Reyes, a right-hander who gets lefties out well, and that really put him into a tiz.
2-1 outside, 3-1. Infielders playing Berkman to pull. Ray King had a tough year. His father was diagnosed with cancer early in the season and just passed away a couple of days ago. King was at his father's funeral in Tennessee yesterday and drove back in time for the game last night. The 3-1 and a swing of the ball line toward the right field corner. That is a fair ball. It'll bounce deep down into the corner, take a bit of a funny hop down there. Walker comes up with it now, gets it back into the infield, and Berkman has a leadoff double here in the top of the 8th.
Well, Berkman got in a hitter's count, and Tavares got the ball down, but Berkman lifted it down into that corner. So the Astros trying to get an insurance run here. Back in the game against Atlanta, they pinch ran for Berkman in the 10th inning with 2 outs after a double. I don't think Garner's going to do that here because he is ahead now, and he wants to keep his best defensive team out there, and Berkman's his best defensive first baseman.
Morgan Ensberg is the batter. Now, this is the cleanup hitter for the Astros, so I don't know we should go expecting a bunt right now. Ensberg did not have a sacrifice this year. He hit 36 home runs on the season. Runner at second, nobody out. 2-1 Houston in the 8th. A step behind the bag, maybe 2 at third, is Abraham Nunez. All the infielders deep as now Tavares will step off. Brad Lidge is up throwing in the Houston bullpen. Phil Garner is going to ask for 2 innings, it would appear, from his closer tonight. The pitch to Ensberg, and it's off the outside corner, ball 1.
Dan, there's just no wiggle room. I mean, Garner, in all likelihood, would probably love to send Oswalt out for an out or 2, but when you have Albert Pujols leading off, and he just hit a 440-foot home run the last time, you got to come in with the guy that's got the electric stuff.
Yep. Lidge is rested, and they've got a travel day tomorrow. A look back by Tavares, and again, and now the 1-0 to Ensberg. A swing and a bouncer foul back to the screen. It's 1-1. Brad Lidge last year in the National League Championship Series was the one Astro the Cardinals worried about more than anybody else. The Cardinals basically knew if the Astros could get Lidge in there in a favorable situation, it was pretty much game over. He was as unhittable as any pitcher in the game last year. And he's not far off this year. 1-1 the count. And the pitch is swinging a weak ground ball to short. Eckstein to his right, up with it. Berkman has to go back to second as Eckstein throws out Ensberg, one down.
No advance by the runner. Last year, Lidge was to the Cardinals what Mike Scott was to the Mets back in 1986. They were so frightened of him. They won Game 6 in 16 innings, but had they lost that game, they had to go back to New York and face Mike Scott, who was practically unhittable that year.
Here's Jason Lane, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. It's the Astros 2, the Cardinals 1. The top of the 8th inning in front of better than 52,000 here at Busch Stadium. Tavares on in relief of Mark Mulder. And the pitch to Lane, in at the knees for a called strike, 0-1.
Well, our listener called in with a question about, or emailed in with a question about small ball. That was bad execution by Morgan Ensberg. An out is one thing, but you've got to have a productive out in that situation. You got to move Berkman to third base, and he didn't do it.
That would have brought the infield in, really put the pressure on the pitcher and the infield. Pitch to Lane, a weak bouncer to short. Again, Berkman has to retreat, and again, Eckstein throws him out. 2 down.
Good pitching by Tavares. Bad execution by the Houston hitters.
But now Chris Burke is coming up. If Phil Garner wanted to, and this goes back to what you were talking about defense, he could go to Mike Lamb here, get a left-handed bat up there against Tavares, put Lamb at first, and move Berkman to the outfield. But because they're leading, he wants to keep what he says is his best defensive unit in the game.
Yeah, and if he put Lamb up, Lamb would get the intentional walk, and he'd go after Adam Everett, because they're not going to take their best defensive shortstop out either.
Here's the first pitch to Burke, and it's a slider outside, ball 1. Burke has tripled and scored, popped up and grounded out.
So now that we've discussed all that, Burke has been the Astros' secret weapon on offense in the last week or so. Maybe he can deliver again.
Here's the 1-0 from Tavares, and it's a slider in at the knees for a strike. Last year, Chris Burke was traveling with the Astros during the National League Championship Series, but it was not on the playoff roster. He had basically was a September call-up last year. So now not only getting a chance to play, but hit that historic home run against Atlanta on Sunday. Homered again last night, tripled and scored tonight.
How about outfielder Luke Scott? He was almost the hero in that game against Atlanta. He missed a home run by about 3 inches, and then he gets taken off the roster for this series.
The Astros decided to add another pitcher. The 1-1 bounced in and through Molina, comes right back to him. He barehands and throws to third, but not in time as Berkman slides in safely. Boy, what a crazy hop there. That almost worked against the Astros.
Tippy Toes was trotting to third and all of a sudden decided that he had to put the afterburners on and do a headfirst slide. Molina played the carom off the backstop. It came right back. He almost didn't even have to move from his squatting position, and he came up firing, and Berkman headfirst dive in there.
It hit some padding just above the backstop and bounced back to the plate on the fly.
Well, all things considered, the failure to get that runner from second to third now looms large if that would have happened.
The 2-1 and a swing and a liner into left field. A base hit for Burke. Jogging home is Berkman, and Chris Burke has done it again, clapping his hands as he arrives at first base. An RBI single for the rookie and a 3-1 lead for the Astros.
Well, I know you talked to Chris extensively way before he became a hero, and he talked about his love of sports and how he has always watched the great athletes and how they cherish the moment. And that's the one thing the Astros say about Chris. He's not afraid to be in the pressure situations. He loves it.
He's from Louisville, a pretty big city, but he thinks he's the first position player from Louisville in the majors in about a half-century. Adam Everett, the batter, he'll step out. Pee Wee Reese is the name that he invoked, and Chris Burke said, you know, now everybody locally is really starting to follow him because of what he's done. He thinks he almost knocked Rick Pitino's Midnight Madness off the front page of the sports section today. Now that's big in Louisville as he draws a throw.
Yep. Well, Pee Wee Reese, after his career was over, had a long career with the Louisville Slugger Bat Company. So maybe Chris Burke can manufacture something like that in his post-baseball career.
Well, Chris says the Louisville folks are now hoping for an Astro-Angel World Series. Paul Byrd was born in Louisville, although he went to LSU, lives in Georgia. Pitch to Everett is outside. Ball 1. But he said all of a sudden, even locally, nobody was really paying attention to him, and now he's become an overnight sensation everywhere.
Yeah, that run is so huge when Albert Pujols is leading off next inning. Now Albert cannot tie it with one swing, so that's a huge run for the Astros.
And now Tavares is going to be joined on the mound by Pujols, Nunez, and Molina. So Chris Burke, an RBI single, a 3-1 lead for the Houston Astros. A guy who didn't know if he would make the big club, if he would play, what position he would play. And really a platoon player playing mostly against lefties. That's why he's in the lineup tonight, but making the most of every at-bat.
Well, he's probably telling Jose Cruz, I just made up for maybe that little misplay on Molina's ball.
Burke has good speed. We've already seen, though, Molina throw out a runner tonight. 1-0 the count on Everett. Runner not going. Everett shows bunt, and he takes a strike. 1-1.
Quite a while ago, back in the 70s, there was a second baseman from the University of Tennessee that went on to have a pretty good career. And he's now the manager of the Houston Astros. Phil Garner. A little bit of
That's right.
The same for Chris Burke.
Yep. Born in Louisville, but attended Tennessee. 1-1 the count on Everett. 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of groundouts and a strikeout. And the 1-1 from Tavares. A swing and a miss by Everett. 1-2. I guess that could have worked for you or against you. I remember reading Jerry Kramer's autobiography, offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers, and Vince Lombardi, a very demanding coach. I think Kramer was a guard, I believe, or a right guard, I think, and that's exactly what Lombardi played. So he said, how am I doing? The most demanding man in sports can, dissect everything everything that I do, because he played exactly the same position that I did. Here's the 1-2, and a bouncer pulled foul by Everett, bobbled by a fan down the line.
Now, Jerry got a lot of mileage out of being an offensive guard.
Yeah, he did. A couple of books.
Yeah, made a great block in the Ice Bowl, quarterback sneak for a touchdown, and moved Jethro Pugh, and the rest is legendary.
Look at you. Look at you.
Used to lead
multi-sport guy.
Yeah.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The count on Everett. 3-1. The Astros lead the Cardinals in the 8th, try to even up the series. Burke not going, and the pitch to Everett. A swing and a fly ball hits the left field, going back toward the wall. Reggie Sanders jumps, bobbles, and drops it on the warning track. Rounding third, heading home is Burke. Into third, and a slide is Everett. Sanders is still down in front of the fence in deep left field. Jim Edmonds has come over to check on him as Sanders jumped up in the air, tried to make the catch, got a piece of the ball, and it popped out of his glove, dropped to the warning track. Reggie Sanders is still down as the Astros have taken a 4-1 lead.
Now, Reggie, a great effort, but it just hit off the top of his glove, and he really got smoked when he hit the dirt. As he looked back up, you almost wonder, gosh, he almost knocked the ball over the fence, too. That would have been a home run. But once again, Danny, that St. Louis bullpen, which has been such a hallmark here in Tony La Russa's era, not only here but in Oakland, they are not getting the job done right now. In postseason this year, the starters coming into this game had given up 5 runs in 26 and a third, but the bullpen 11 earned runs, now 13 in 9 innings.
Looking at the fall, Reggie Sanders jumped up in the air and fell. It looked like on his tailbone, and his upper body and his head snapped back violently toward the ground. He has just gotten back up to his feet. Barry Weinberg, the trainer, is there with him. Tony La Russa is on the way out. A very good effort by Sanders on a tough play, and Sanders a little bit shaken up, maybe a little bit more than a little bit shaken up, and the fans are all standing and looking on nervously. They have really grown fond of Sanders, and he has been such an offensive force for them in the postseason.
Yeah, Reggie toweling himself off. I think he's going to be able to stay in. I mean, Barry's talking to him right now, but I think shaken is the word. I think he probably took a lot of skin off the elbow. And if he got any kind of a whiplash effect, he'll probably feel that more by tomorrow.
Now, he is walking over toward the left field line, and they have opened a door, opened a gate out in deep left field. And I think Barry Weinberg is going to walk Reggie Sanders out of the game. Yep, Sanders is going to leave. So he has been shaken up and has to come out of the game.
Well, Tony's thinking about his move now, because I think that John Mabry, who would hit third, would be, I guess, the logical guy to come in. So
I assume that was scored as an RBI triple for Adam Everett. Chris Burke coming around to score. 4-1 Houston, and now another crowd favorite, So Taguchi. will come into the game in left field. And while he does, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the National League Championship Series on ESPN Radio, delivered by the United States Postal Service.
You're listening to the Houston Astros on XM Satellite Radio.
Back in St. Louis, now a 4-1 lead for the Astros. They have scored 2 runs here in the 8th inning. And now a meeting on the mound with all the infielders and Julian Tavares as Sotoguchi takes his place out in left field. Adam Everett at third, 2 down. Brad Ausmus, the catcher, is due up next. And then the pitcher spot. But Eric Bruntlett is already out in the on-deck circle. They're going to hit for Roy Oswalt because Brad Lidge is coming into this game.
Yep, Danny, all of a sudden with 2 outs in this inning, the tenor of this game and perhaps the series had a dramatic change with the 2 runs, Burke and Everett, not a couple of guys that would be household names for the Astro fans coming up with big hits, and Reggie Sanders, the hottest hitter for the Cardinals in postseason, going out with an injury.
Runner at third, 2 down, 4-1 Astros. Tavares now ready. Brad Ausmus steps in. And the first pitch, down and in, ball 1. Brad Thompson, Randy Flores, a righty and a lefty up, throwing again as they were a couple of innings ago for the Cardinals. Lidge has some company. Dan Wheeler has started throwing in the Astro pen. Maybe if this lead gets a little bit bigger, Wheeler starts the 8th inning. The 1-0 and a swing and a line drive caught out at second by Grzelcyk, and the inning is over. But 2 huge runs for the Astros. Brad Lidge to come on and try to give them 6 outs to nail down this win and even up the series at a win apiece. Lidge with 42 saves this year and a 2.29 ERA. Albert Pujols leads it off for the Cardinals, and a fastball is in over the inside corner for a strike. 0-1. Other changes defensively for the Astros. Craig Biggio has moved from second base out to left field. Lidge into the windup. And the 0-1. A fastball swung on, hit high in the air to center field. Deep. Tavares back, feeling for the wall, has room on the track, and makes the catch about 390 feet away. Pujols retired, 1 down.
Good job by Brad Lidge. He had a 3-run lead to play with. That's why those insurance runs were so important. He could show Pujols fastball in that at bat. He threw 2 of them, but I think if he has to get him out in a critical situation, he's going to go slider.
The other change for the Astros is Eric Bruntlett. I think it's him. We haven't seen his back to get his number yet. He's coming to the game at second base as Larry Walker takes a strike. So if all that's correct, Bruntlett at second. Biggio moves out into left field. Chris Burke out of the game and put Brad Lidge in the 6th spot where Burke was hitting. Here's the 0-1 to Walker, and a swing and a fastball fouled back. It's 0-2.
The guy at second's kind of big and stocky, so it's either Bruntlett or Roger Clemens. So I think it's probably Bruntlett. So.
Well, Roger's done just about everything else for the Astros so far. Bruntlett is at shortstop right now. So here's the 0-2, and it's upstairs, a ball and 2 strikes. I'm going to revisit this whole thing.
Yeah, well,
I think Burke must still be out. We haven't gotten any confirmation from anybody, but it looks like maybe Biggio's still at second, Burke at left, and Bruntlett at short for Adam Everett, which would mean the pitcher's in the 7th spot. The 1-2, a very high fastball, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, they're all built about the same, and you also mentioned earlier tonight that it looked to me like a bunch of lights were out that were on last night. I have no idea why, but there's some banks of lights that are not on tonight.
The 2-2 swung on and missed, and they'll throw down to first to complete the strikeout.
Did you notice the home plate umpire?
I was just going to ask you. Yes,
that means
a little bit different.
That means no contact.
Yeah, but he did not punch him out as Doug Eddings did last night. He just went out, arms spread out, saying no contact. The ball was in the dirt, and Ausmus fired down to first to get a walker for the 2nd out. Brad Lidge, as you mentioned earlier, has not given up a run to the Cardinals in more than 2 years, and that includes last year's NLCS when he threw 8 innings, allowed 1 hit, and he struck out 14. Here's Sotoguchi now, who came on after Reggie Sanders was hurt, and Taguchi lines one into the seats down the right field line out of play. 0-1. Taguchi, a terrific bench player. A little more than that, really, for the Cardinals this year. As the 0-1, a slider is fouled back And it's 0-2. Taguchi hit .288.
It is Birkin left
All
still.
right.
Biggio at second still. And Bruntlett at short. I'm a little surprised. I know Garner likes the double switch, and he must really think that Bruntlett plays a good shortstop because Adam Everett's a great shortstop.
Here's the 0-2, and Taguchi swings and he fouls one back. So the pitcher, Lidge, is in the 7 spot. Everett is out of the game. 2 runs in the top of the 8th, 4-1 Houston leading. Lidge, a former outfielder in high school, went to Notre Dame. The 0-2 swing and a miss. That nasty slider. Taguchi is gone, and Lidge makes very quick work of the Cardinals here in the 8th. The Astros lead the Cardinals 4-1. Changes for St. Louis. John Mabry takes over in right field for Larry Walker, and Jason Marquis comes out of the bullpen. A starter during the year for the Cardinals, 13-14 with a 4.13 ERA. Eric Bruntlett, who came on at short in the double switch for the Astros last half inning, takes down and away ball 1. It'll be Bruntlett, Biggio, and Taveras for the Astros here in the 9th. Here's the 1-0 from Marquis, and he missed outside ball 2. We can revisit the story we told a little bit earlier. Marquis spoke out to the press yesterday about how unhappy he was that he had been moved to the bullpen for the playoffs. Thought he still should be in the rotation with the way he pitched against the Astros this year. The 2-0 was swinging a foul back, 2-1. Marquis was 4-0 against the Astros this year. Remarkably, Jeff Suppan, who was going to start Game 4, didn't face the Astros this year. Tony La Russa saying without Al Reyes, they need a guy to come in and get some people out in the middle innings, and they think Marquis is better suited to that role than Suppan. The 2-1 is high ball 3. But Marquis took it as a demotion and said so. And La Russa and some of the veteran Cardinals were not amused by him speaking out about a personal thing rather than a team goal here in the month of October. The 3-1 to Bruntlett, a swing and a miss, full count.
What's the old saying? There's no letter I in the word team.
And La Russa saying to Marquis, you know, you lost 7 in a row at one point in the summer, and we left you in the rotation. And we didn't say anything bad about you. We always supported you. The 3-2 swung on and missed. Bruntlett is gone 1 down. So Marquis, who did go in, Tony La Russa telling us that Marquis sought him out today. He didn't specifically say he apologized, but they had a chat today. And Marquis trying to work his way back into the good graces of his manager. Now Craig Biggio, who is 2 for 4 with an RBI tonight. Boy, this 39-year-old just keeps on trucking. He is playing very well as he takes the first pitch fastball in at the knees. Remember that play out at a couple of them at second base. One time him sliding into Marcus Giles, and one time Marcus Giles sliding into him in consecutive innings in the division series. Speaking volumes about the competitive nature of each player. Now time called.
So Biggio was a great high school football player. He's recruited as a running back at Penn State, among other teams. Marcus Giles is like a human bowling ball. He's like a little rock.
The 0-1, a curveball swung on and missed. 0-2 on Biggio.
He played high school football. His brother Brian out at El Capitan, I think. Granite Hills High School, excuse me, San Diego. And Marcus also was a wrestler in high school.
Here's the 0-2 from Marquis, and a fastball just low. A ball and 2 strikes.
I haven't made to show my face back in town in San Diego if I get the high school.
That's right. You don't mispronounce the names, and you don't get the schools wrong. Those are the 2 biggest blunders we can make. Here's the 1-2 and a breaking ball in the dirt. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, it'll be Mark Resolanik, Abraham Nunez, and Yadier Molina. Brad Lidge made it look easy in the 8th. A deep fly ball to Pujols, but then he struck out Larry Walker, and he struck out Taguchi.
No, the other thing was those 2 insurance runs he had to work with, I think, allowed him to settle in.
2-2, a check swing and a breaking ball down and away, and the count now full on Biggio.
It just felt like he didn't have to make the perfect pitches, and you know, sometimes I think Phil Garner and Jim Hickey wish he'd realize that all the time. Sometimes he'll throw a great slider for strike 2 and then try to throw a super slider when the great slider is plenty good enough.
Throws that slider almost 90 miles an hour. The 3-2 to Biggio, a swing and a pop-up down the right field line, and it is drifting back out of play into the seats. Game 3, Saturday afternoon from Minute Maid Park in Houston, a 4 o'clock Eastern time broadcast start. First pitch right around 4:30 Eastern. Roger Clemens will be throwing that first pitch. He's the starter for the Astros. Matt Morris will be on the mound for the Cardinals. You can hear it right here on ESPN Radio. 3-2, and Biggio checks the swing. They'll appeal to first, and he went, says Wally Bell. Biggio was racing down to first, trying to buy a walk, but instead he's gone 2 down.
Well, Jason Marquis earning some trust from his manager, and again with that Cardinal bullpen a little bit in question right now. Marquis' performance may be a little bit of a silver lining for him if he continues to pitch well this inning.
Here's Willie Taveras, 2 for 4, a couple of infield hits, one of them a bunt single. 4-1 Houston leads. Top of the 9th, trying to get home with a split. Here's the pitch from Marquis, and a late swing, and a foul ball hit the screen in front of the Cardinal first base dugout and skipped up into the seats.
Why isn't the split when you win the second game? Leaves a little better taste in your mouth on that flight home.
Yeah. The Angels had a long flight home after losing game 2 in controversial fashion. Pitch down and away, 1-1 the count on Taveras.
The Angels know long flights.
Yes.
Taking a bunch of them lately. They get to go home now for 4 days at least and just kind of catch up on their sleep, get their biorhythms back in sync.
Here's the 1-1. And Taveras takes way inside, almost hit him about bell time. Well, one of the reasons I think that both you and I have so much respect for Mike Scioscia, when it came to the long flights, he, like Joe Torre said, well, we got to play when we play, and that doesn't matter. And then after the umpiring situation last night, the 2 on a swing and a ground ball to short, big hop for Eckstein on the first in time, hitting over. Game 2 of the NLCS on ESPN Radio. The Astros 4, the Cardinals 1. Brad Lidge into his windup. Mark Grzelcyk leads off the bottom of the 9th, and he takes outside ball 1. It will be Grzelcyk, Nunez, and Molina for the Cardinals here in the 9th. Roy Oswalt, by the way, 7 innings, 1 run on 5 hits, walked 3, struck out 6. 1-0 to Grzelcyk, a little high ball 2. Oswalt allowing the Albert Pujols home run that has accounted for the only St. Louis run of the night. 4 runs, 11 hits, and an error for the Astros. 1 run, 5 hits, no errors for the Cardinals. Houston 3 outs away from evening up the series. The 2-0 and a fastball outside. Ball 3. Lidge got the Cardinals in order in the 8th, including a couple of strikeouts. Lanky right-hander into his windup in the 3-0. A fastball over the outside corner with the knees. 3-1 on Grzelcyk.
Well, at the risk of making an obvious analysis, he doesn't want to walk the leadoff man with a 3-run lead.
Got the middle of the lineup in the 8th, now facing the bottom of the order here in the 9th. The 3-1 and a fastball swung on and hit away up in the air to shallow left field. Coming in, Chris Burke sets up underneath it and makes the one-handed catch for out number 1. The report on Reggie Sanders is a lower back sprain, and we told you it looked like he landed right on his tailbone almost, and his back and neck snapped backwards, and he eventually walked off the field under his own power. We'll see how the day off treats him and whether he can answer the bell on Saturday. The batter now, Abraham Nunez, 0 for 3 tonight, and he takes outside ball 1.
Shame of it is for Reggie. I mean, this guy has struggled quite a bit in his career in postseason, but has always soldiered on, never complained, and now he's having a hot postseason. May get knocked out by an injury.
The 1-0 to Nunez there for a strike. So Taguchi becomes a much more important part of the Cardinal puzzle. Potentially a John Rodriguez, depending on whether Tony La Russa wants a left-handed bat or not. But Taguchi, a super sub this year for the Cardinals. The 1-1 to Nunez, fastball just outside, 2 balls and a strike.
Cardinals would love to get Lidge tired, but he had such an easy 8th inning, it may be tough to do because he's going to get the off day tomorrow.
Here's the 2-1 and a fastball fouled back. Offensively tonight for the Astros, Chris Burke had a couple of hits, scored 2 runs and drove in a run. Lance Berkman had a couple of hits and scored a run. Adam Everett had an RBI triple. That was the play when Sanders got hurt. Brad Ausmus doubled and scored. The 2-2 and a swing and a line drive base hit into left field. Nunez is aboard with a 1-out single. Here comes Yadier Molina. John Mabry into the on-deck circle.
Remember Mabry coming in on the double switch when Marquis came in, so he's hitting in the 9th spot.
And if Molina can get on, Mabry represents the tying run. 4-1 Houston, bottom of the 9th. The runner at first, one out. Berkman is going to play behind Nunez at first base. Ensberg deep at third. Lidge from the stretch, and a slider misses low. Ball 1 to Molina.
Remember last year, Lidge pitched 8 innings against the Cardinals in postseason. They had exactly 1 hit. Nunez just matched that.
1-0 the count on Molina. Couple of doubles tonight for the catcher. And the 1-0 fastball up and in. Ball 2. Osmus will walk out to the mound and try to head off this trouble right now.
Yeah, as good as Brad Lidge was this year with 42 saves, he was even better last year. He's had moments this year when he's really struggled with his command. That was something we didn't see much of last year, but in that game Sunday, you said against Atlanta, he walked 3 guys.
Still dominant. Maybe not quite as dominant as last year, but last year he was unbelievable. The runner goes. The 2-0 is in for a strike. No throw down, so presumably on defensive indifference, Nunez, and it is defensive indifference, Nunez heads into second base.
That's a good idea, though, because it at least gives the Cardinals 2 whacks at Lidge instead of a ground ball that might result in a double play.
4-1 Houston, bottom of the 9th here in St. Louis. Lidge has his sign. A look back at the runner at second base, and the 2-1 to Molina. A swing and a pop-up out of play, first base side. It is 2-2.
Like to be a fly on the wall when Osmus, who we mentioned, one of the smartest catchers in the game, went out and talked to Lidge and just wondered what he said.
You can ask him on Saturday.
Yeah, we will do that.
And we'll find out how truthful he is with us. Who knows?
Probably say, get the darn ball over.
Lidge sets. Checks the runner. And the 2-2. Swing and a miss at a slider down and away. Molina is gone 2 down.
Once in a while, Brad probably has to go out and get the reins on the harness and say to Brad, hey, you have brilliant stuff, but you're overthrowing. You don't have to be turbo. Electric is plenty good enough.
Yeah. The same kind of thing you've talked about. K-Rod out in Anaheim sometimes tries to throw the perfect pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's afraid he wants to miss every bat. He doesn't want to trust his defense, and their defense is plenty good out there.
John Mabry is the batter. Runner at second, 2 down, 4-1 Astros. And the pitch, a fastball swung on and missed. 0-1, 97-mile-an-hour fastball from Brad Lidge. As we mentioned, an outfielder until his senior year of high school. Didn't hit very much. Somebody suggested turning him into a pitcher. He was already throwing 90 miles an hour then. The 0-1 and a breaking ball in the dirt. Notre Dame was out looking at somebody else. Lidge is from Colorado, out looking at somebody else in a tournament. Lidge wasn't on the radar screen because, to be honest, he was kind of a weak hitting outfielder at that point. As soon as he turned into a pitcher, Notre Dame saw him and said, would you like to come to South Bend? And he didn't have any other offers, so he did. And it became a pitching sensation for the Irish. Now he's one of the very best closers in baseball. 1-1 the count. And the pitch to Mabry, fastball up and away.
Well, sometimes he comes out of his delivery. That time he really opened up his front shoulder. I don't know if he was trying to throw a 2-seam fastball, but you could just see with that delivery, it was going to be high and wide.
Eckstein's on deck. If Mabry reaches, Eckstein comes up as the tying run. The Cardinals down to their final out. The crowd still chanting and hoping here in St. Louis. A look back at the runner. And the 2-1. And a swing and a pop-up back out of play. 2-2 now on Mabry.
Yeah, it's just inconsistent release point, inconsistent mechanics. Fortunately for Lidge, he just has overpowering stuff. When he makes his pitch, no chance to hit it, but at least when he's out of whack mechanically, the Cardinals have a little bit of a chance.
His innings were down this year from 94 2/3 last year to 70 2/3 this year. He started off last year as a setup man before becoming the closer in May. Ready to go now. The 2-2 to Mabry, and a slider grounded out to short. Bruntlett is up with it. On to first in time to get Mabry, and the Astros have evened up the series at a win apiece. They earn the split here in St. Louis. Roy Oswalt the win. Brad Lidge the save. Another big night for Chris Burt. And the Astros beat the Cardinals 4-1.